Faced with Promi's words, Yi Zan did not answer, but just looked at him. After waiting for a short while, Promi nodded and said in a deep voice, "No wonder, you were not promoted to the level of a god, but you were awarded the 72nd title of demon god. You are even accompanied by the supreme demon god priest. For outsiders from the void, it is definitely a good choice to trade with me and sign a soul contract." Yi Zan remained silent. To the fire demon tyrant of the abyss world, Yi Zan was indeed an outsider in the void. And Yi Zan's demonic priesthood, which Aaliyah also obtained from Blue Star, has little to do with the abyss world. "The void alien," Promi said seductively. "The rules of the abyss world are more complicated than you think." The voice of this fire demon tyrant was extremely dull and hoarse, and the ancient demonic language slowly sounded in his mouth. In addition to the 72 demon gods and the 7 great demon kings, there are countless terrifying gods. There are even some giant beasts in the void above our heads that can swallow the stars and ancient civilizations. No matter how powerful the demon priesthood is, it still needs to have chips. Promi paused and explained again, or it can be understood as a trump card. In most cases, the demon priesthood can rely on detonating the godhead to negotiate. Even a 4-star demon god will be extremely cautious when facing a 2-star demon god who can explode his divine power at any time. Prom stated the first rule of the abyssal world. Or powerful enough to ignore the detonation of the low-level demon god's godhead. Or you need to be more cautious. Secondly, Promi looked at Yi Zan and smiled lightly. The expression on the stiff devil's face looked extremely anomaly. If you don't have enough chips, it's best not to be promoted to a higher level so quickly. Because no matter how much you gain, you are always conserving resources for higher level demons. Yi Zan frowned. Prom raised her arm. Sweeping under the huge magic element, an illusory scene emerged. All of this may be real, but it happened at the end of the extremely distant abyss. In the illusory scene, a star that is almost countless times larger than the blue star is being eaten away by large swaths of demons and Zerg. Just a moment later, the stars were destroyed. All the resources in the home planet were swallowed up by this wave of demonic species. Behind the vast swarm of bugs and demons, a demon god with 4-star strength is not a demon god, but an ordinary demon god. At this moment, he is enjoying the increase in power and the arrival of a new godhead. However, the next moment, something shocking happened to Yi Zan. In the void, on top of the destroyed mother star, an extremely huge claw slightly patted down, but no majestic magical elements were seen. It's like a rule, quiet and silent. With a snap, the 4-star demon was completely crushed into ashes. Massive data modules, as well as all the resources that the 4-star demon god had just plundered, all poured into the void. "Did you see it?" Promi said calmly. "If you want to gain more power and be promoted to a higher level, you must have stronger chips and trump cards, otherwise, you will be targeted by higher dimensional gods." Yi Zan's heart trembled, compared to a weak insect. Promi explained. High-level demon gods and those giant beasts in the void are more inclined to hunt a fatter meat insect, which will greatly improve their hunting and promotion effects. Yi Zan somewhat understood what this demon tyrant meant. In the abyss world, it is very easy to be affectionate. A large number of demons can bring countless experience points. Even some extremely precious things, such as divine fruits, star cores, etc., can allow professionals like Yi Zan to increase their ranks crazily. However, according to Promi, in the endless vast abyss world, those high-level demon gods and void beasts hiding behind the scenes are always looking for prey. If you don't have enough cards in your hand, if detonating the godhead is not enough to make the high-level demons behind the scenes fearful, then they will die. Even existences like Promi and Yi Zan are just a slightly fatter insect. What Promi said is a bit like the law of the dark jungle. You can advance to a higher level, but not too quickly. You must have something that makes the higher dimensional demons fearful, so that you can increase your strength unscrupulously. Otherwise, just called prey. Promi told Yi Zan these contents just in the hope that he could sign a soul contract with her and become a temporary ally. If a battle breaks out, no matter which side Promi or Yi Zan wins, they may be promoted to a fatter bug. At that time, strong power will also bring uncontrollable factors. Noticed by the high-level demon in the void, it was completely grasped by the throat of fate. Death will be a foregone conclusion. Good. Yizan thought for a moment, looked at Promi and said, "But there is one condition, you have to tell me how to detonate the Godhead. And all the information about the Abyss world, or the area we are in now." Yizan doesn't know enough about this world. In fact, he didn't know much about information above the priesthood. These things can be obtained from Promi. Okay. Promi nodded, still with the same stiff expression and movements. Outsiders. You can obtain the title of demon god and be assisted by the demon god priest. I believe that you will soon have your own race and country in the Abyss world. Promi threw the 6-star cores at Yizan in a friendly manner. The one who got the money, however, this demon priest. His mind is damaged. I suggest you subdue another demon priest. The role of priests in the Abyss world is extremely obvious. They can help you plunder and kill, and they can also provide valuable opinions at critical times. Yizan took the star core and nodded thoughtfully. Demon priests are definitely not as good as Arya, a high priest who assists the demon god. But Alia's condition is indeed not good. His sanity is damaged, and even the god's strength is now only 3 stars. It is necessary to find a priest with intact sanity. As for establishing a kingdom in the Abyss world and having a race of your own faith, this is still a little early for Yizan. He needs to think more about the chips that Promi said. Only in this way can he be qualified to negotiate with the high-level demons behind the scenes of the world. Just like the negotiation between Promi and Yizan failed. Ding, congratulations, you signed a soul contract with the endless plunderer Prom, the Balrog tyrant, and became an ally, and obtained the Balrog tyrant buff. Soon, Yizan signed a soul contract with Promi. This is an equal contract. This contract will take effect before either Yizan or Promi is promoted to a high-level demon. As demons, they were able to live in peace for a short time. Yizan also received an additional fire demon tyrant buff, which increased his health and defense. After all, Yizan comes from a world where everyone changes jobs, and the power of extra dimensions will appear in the form of buff. This book records the details of almost all species, forces and rules in this area. It should be of great help to you. After becoming allies, Promi threw a book that exuded a soft light to Yizan. Of course, there are also records about the methods of detonating the Godhead. Not only the Godhead chips, but also other methods that are enough to make high-level demon gods fearful are all recorded. After doing all this, Prom twisted his neck, and the demon's body showed the luster of marble. He waved his wings behind him and was about to leave. I go first. Mysterious outsiders, I believe we will meet again in the near future. Promi said friendly. Then, he completely disappeared from Yizan's sight. A demon with the potential to be promoted to the title of demon god. Yizan muttered to himself, there will indeed be a time when we meet again. Promi's potential is not bad. Now he is only a 2-star god, but he has 4 godhead sequences. When this fire demon tyrant 450 masters the power that can make high-level demons fearful, perhaps his promotion speed will be faster than Yizan's imagination. At the same time, Yizan is the same. The harvest this time is not small. Yizan raised his eyebrows and smiled lightly. Not only did he understand the layout of the Abyss world, and obtained extremely valuable information from Prom, he also owned an encyclopedia of the Abyss that recorded various demon species and forces. Although, this encyclopedia only records a very small part of the Abyss world, where Yizan is currently. At least I have a guide, certainly. 6-star cores and a large number of demon species are also valuable. The sun. Yizan chanted slightly. Then, the terrifying light element swept past, directly swallowing all the countless demonic species below. Then, a trace of wind melted away all the devil's bodies. Massive experience points and countless resources completely became Yizan's property. Aaliyah needs to be promoted, Yizan said thoughtfully. He now has too much experience points, which can be used to improve his rank. However, Yizan is different from a pure demonic species like Aaliyah. He comes from a world where everyone changes jobs, and in a sense needs to follow the rule system generated by the will of the world. Yizan needs to complete the God trial to upgrade from level 1000 to level 10,000. But Aaliyah didn't need it. As long as you have enough experience points, you can level up. Of course, the Abyss world that Aaliyah corresponds to also has its own exclusive world will. As Prom said, there is the law of the jungle. Therefore, it can be understood that the devil's promotion rules are not necessarily higher than those in the world of universal job transfer. Ding! Congratulations, the believer's cursed girl Aaliyah has increased her level. As a cold reminder sounded, Aaliyah's level rose to level 10,000, directly promoting her to a true god. Ding! Congratulations, the believer, cursed girl Aaliyah, has been promoted to a 4-star god. The prompt sounded, and Yi Zhan couldn't help but feel a little happy. Aaliyah's strength increased by 1 star. It's not that the level increase has allowed Aaliyah to increase her strength, but because, as a demon priest, this red-haired demon girl has extremely high divine strength. Only, after being cursed, he lost his original things. It can be said that the strongest version of Aaliyah is probably the one that can crush the 72 demon priests. Yi Zhan doesn't know exactly how powerful it is. For 4 stars. Yi Zhan looked at Aaliyah's detailed attribute column and muttered thoughtfully. It should be able to be upgraded to around level 40,000? However, after reaching level 10,000, it is too difficult to increase the level. Yi Zhan smiled bitterly. Let out a long sigh. Under his gaze, if Aaliyah wants to continue to improve her level, the required meridian value is an astronomical value. After all, anyone above level 10,000 can already be called a god. If you want to improve your rank, you can't just harvest some low-level demons. But need to kill the gods. In fact, 1 star, countless parent stars, and countless star cores need to be destroyed to complete the promotion of gods. This process is indeed the same as what is mentioned in Xu Yue's life script. Extremely long and boring. Not only that, during the process of god promotion, one must always be wary of those high-level demons in the void and the void behemoths of higher dimensions. All kinds of shackles are placed on the top of the head. If the messengers behind the undead natural disaster are the same as those high-level demons of the void, CFFI, that Promi said, then rewriting the plot of the natural disaster will be countless times more difficult than expected, and even suffocating. Yi Zhan frowned, feeling a sense of urgency in his heart. The weak really have no say. A star can be cannibalized by countless demon species and Zerg. And these demons are like natural disasters. The monarch behind them is just a fat insect. As long as you are noticed by the real God, you cannot escape the end of death. There is some irony. Keep the star cores for now. Yi Zhan nodded and put away the 6 star cores. If these star cores are absorbed, his solar power should be slightly improved. Yi Zhan is not sure how much it can be improved. Not just the godhead. As for the damaged divine weapon, it can also be restored to its original state by feeding star cores. But Yi Zhan doesn't plan to use it now. Star core is not a kind of trump card. Use it after you have a more powerful godhead. Yi Zhan thought for a moment and made a decision. Although there is no difference between the strength and weakness of the godhead in a certain sense, it depends on the strength of the user. However, there are differences in the power of the godhead under certain circumstances. Some godheads preside over light and healing. Some godheads preside over killing and destruction. Yi Zhan needs to find a more powerful and violent godhead as his core trump card. I believe that when a godhead of that level is detonated, the degree of destruction that erupts should make those high-level demon gods and cold void behemoths a little afraid. Gone back. After doing all this, Yi Zhan finally breathed a sigh of relief and was ready to leave the abyss world. Although he only came to this place briefly, his harvest was extremely rich, even a hearty harvest. Yi Zhan was extremely satisfied with this. At the same time, even though the order and rules of the abyss world are too cold-blooded and cruel, Yi Zhan is not too uneasy. The reason is simple. He is not a pure demonic species, but comes from a world where everyone has changed their profession. In other words, Yi Zhan has a natural advantage. For example, he can go to the second world like the Winter Dungeon, or he can go to the place where the elf NPC lives. He even said that if Yi Zhan wanted to, he could stand with the older gods of the Great Sha Dragon Kingdom and go to the battlefield of myriad races. This is where he differs from Prom. The rules of the Abyss world may not apply to other world-level copies. Therefore, Yi Zhan can completely rely on this advantage to obtain the resources he wants in different places, so as to be promoted to God. In the Abyss world, it should be difficult for those high-level demon gods who dominate the void to cross the endless space to a place like the Winter Dungeon. The rules of the world are completely different, and the will of the world is also much different. Yi Zan thought secretly in his heart, although just now, he has witnessed the fall of several stars, and seen those powerful demon gods able to leave the earth and go to other stars in the void. However, according to Yi Zan's judgment, those demon gods should not be able to go to the blue star or winter dungeon world where they are. The reason is simple. The starry sky is too huge. The void has no boundaries either. The world where everyone changes jobs, the world of winter dungeons, since it can exist for so long, it is probably in a safe zone. Not discovered, in other words, it was discovered by high-level gods, but it had no value and did not destroy it. After all, who cares about a tiny piece of sand? At first glance, the garden is full of gravel. Taking one last look at this endless dark world, Yi Zan took a deep breath, opened the teleportation circle again, and took Aaliyah back to Blue Star. At the same time, Joanna also contacted Yi Zan. Zhanghai City, the rooftop of the landmark building. Joanna jumped out of the golden circle, looked at Yi Zan, smiled, and said in the not-so-standard Dragon Kingdom language, "Long time no see, Your Majesty the Demon God." "Haven't seen you for a long time?" Yi Zan raised his eyes and couldn't help but feel a little funny. This blonde foreign girl only learns half of the idioms, right? Why haven't we seen each other for a long time after only 2 days? But, in the past 2 days, Yi Zan did a lot of things. Not only did he destroy the Japanese cherry blossoms and complete the feat of killing gods, he also went to the Abyss world, witnessed the withering and destruction of stars, and saw even more huge and shocking things. World. It does feel a bit long. The winter dungeon is about to open. Joanna looked at Yi Zan and said seriously, "The world-level copy we are going to this time is more difficult than imagined. Golden Smaug is not an ordinary god-level boss, even in the evil dragon's lair. China. We may also encounter some unpredictable dangers. Your Majesty the Demon God, you need to be mentally prepared." Yi Zan nodded lightly. "Do you have any specific information about Golden Smaug? What is the approximate strength of the god?" Yi Zan wanted to know more about the god-level boss he would face next, so he asked directly. "Not sure," Joanna said. "However, the existing data shows that Golden Smaug should be a 4-star strength god boss, and his combat power is about 8 stars. 4-star strength? Only 8-star combat power?" Yi Zan probably knew in his mind that the targets targeted by the Global Beast Masters Association were not very tyrannical after all. If placed in the Abyss world, it would be about the same level as Prom. Of course, according to what Joanna said, the Dragon Forbidden Land they are about to go to is not only a threat to the Golden Smaug boss, but will also face various unexpected dangers at any time. Still need to be careful. Under normal circumstances, each generation of Golden Smaug is extremely powerful. It is impossible for him to have only 8-star combat power. Joanna raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, "This generation of Golden Smaug is still in his infancy. It is for this reason that our Beast Masters Association will summon demi-priests and clerics from around the world to go to that dangerous second world to slay the dragon." Yi Zan nodded. The boss or NPC in the world of universal job transfer are not data, and when the boss is defeated, new substitutes will appear in the copy world. Just like the Golden Smaug, not just one generation. Countless Golden Smaugs died, and new replacements ushered in. It happened that this generation of Smaug was relatively weak. Otherwise, Joanna and the others would not have been able to go to the Winter Dungeon world to slay the dragon with such fanfare. According to Yi Xuanshen's current understanding of Blue Star, their civilization can only be regarded as the lowest level. It's crazy for professionals in low-level civilization to kill gods in high-dimensional worlds. If Smaug hadn't been a young dragon, this would never have happened. "Your Majesty the Demon God, do you need anything?" Joanna looked at Yi Zan and mentioned the key issue of coming to the Great Shalong Kingdom this time. Before the winter dungeon opened, Yi Zan and Joanna met, naturally for the purpose of trading. Yi Zan was ready to sell all of the countless high-level weapons and magic items in the Japanese copy, including several items he had previously obtained from Inuyama, all of which needed to be traded. If there is one, it'd better be a godhead. Yi Zan pondered for a while and spoke his inner thoughts directly. After going to the Abyss world once, Yi Zan also understood the current situation. For the priesthood, the most important thing is the godhead. Expertise, forbidden spells, and other things are not of high value. At the same time, even if the resources of an entire country in the Japanese world are to be traded, ordinary items are not of such high value. Only Godhead is what Yi Zan wants most at the moment. Godhead? Joanna was stunned for a moment. This kind of thing is so rare. Joanna smiled bitterly and fell into silence. After a long time, she looked at Yi Zan and said again, "However, it's not that there are none, but there are two questions." Yi Zan's eyes lit up slightly. "Really divine? You must know that in a civilization as strong as Blue Star, except for those old gods who left, few other professionals have been promoted to the priesthood. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. There are only a handful of 10,000 level ones worldwide. And the Godhead is even rarer." Yi Zan knew very well that it would be difficult to get another fruit that was the same as the Sun God. However, Joanna's words surprised him inexplicably. "Tell me." Yi Zan raised his chin. "Our association does have a divine fruit." Joanna said with great pride, "This thing has been treasured in the Beast Masters Association for a long time. Even if some semi-priests in the West want to trade it, we have not made a move. The first question is, Lord Demon God, you also know. The value of the Godhead is too high, even if you have given me 2 yin-yang shikigami weapons, even if you should have various items obtained from Japan. But it's still not worth a Godhead fruit." Joanna was telling the truth. Items of this level are not comparable to ordinary weapons and skill books. If you want to exchange for a Godhead fruit, you need something more expensive. "What about the second one?" Yi Zan asked directly. Joanna pondered for a moment, considered her words and said again, "Secondly, this Godhead is not complete. But 10 damaged Godheads." "Corrupted Godhead?" Yi Zan frowned and asked, "What kind of Godhead is it?" Joanna didn't hide anything, but said decisively, "A 3-star Godhead. Death." "Death Godhead? 3 stars." Yi Zan's eyes couldn't help but tremble, and he took a deep breath of cold air. Death Godhead. Even if he didn't understand it, he knew intuitively that this Godhead must be the power of rules regarding death. Brutal and violent. In some sense, at least at this stage, the help given to Yi Zan may be even greater than that of the Sun Godhead. The Sun is more like improving Yi Zan's control over the elements of the light sequence, which is not considered strong. Perhaps, the Sun Godhead is also strong, but it's just because the strength is too low, or maybe Yi Zan's current control over this Godhead is not strong enough. "Take me to see it." Yi Zan did not directly say that he wanted this divine fruit, but wanted Joanna to take him to see it. He was also very curious about how terrifying the power of rules brought by the Death Godhead was. How? Eagle, United States, in an ancient medieval castle. Joanna came here with Yi Zan. As the inheritor of the ancient Western nobility, Joanna's family was very rich. Looking at this extravagant castle, Yi Zan couldn't help but half squinted his eyes. Not that I was impressed by the castle. With Yi Zan's current strength, even the high-level demons in the Abyss world would not let him have too many emotional fluctuations. What made Yi Zan's heart tremble was the extremely strong divine aura deep in the castle. Soon, Joanna brought out a fruit from a pavilion deep in the castle. It was larger than the Godhead that Yi Zan obtained from Shu Yue, and it was also covered in a jelly-like substance. "Devil, this is the Death Godhead fruit. The 3-star Godhead is damaged." Joanna looked slightly regretful. Really, a 3-star strength Godhead is considered the supreme apex level item in the entire world of job transfer. The Yamata Big 323 Snake Boss can guard the entire Japan, ranking high in the global combat power rankings. However, the level of Yamata no Orochi's Godhead is not even 1 star, only half-star. But now, the Godhead fruit in Yi Zan's hands is actually a 3-star Godhead, and the corresponding power of the rules is even more mysterious and extremely cruel. The Death Godhead. This kind of Godhead is extremely powerful, but I must remind you, wanting to fuse the Death Godhead is an extremely dangerous thing in itself. If there is a slight mistake, even the gods may be in danger. Joanna looked at Yi Zan and kindly reminded, "And this Death Godhead fruit itself is damaged, and the danger of merging with the Godhead has increased countless times. In fact, even I don't know exactly what the effects of obtaining an incomplete Godhead will be. Maybe it will damage the growth potential of the priesthood, or it may make your own original power out of control." Joanna spread her hands and smiled helplessly. Yi Zan's eyes flickered. The power of law, death, is very tyrannical and also very violent. If coupled with the original damaged state, absorbing such a godhead fruit can indeed easily put oneself in danger. Yi Zan was a little silent. What, however, at this moment, Aaliyah next to Yi Zan took the initiative to speak out. She stretched out her white and delicate hands, pointed at the jelly-like divine fruit, and spat out a word without expression, character. Want. Yi Zan raised his eyelids, demon priest. In the abyss world, it is a kind of wisdom or teacher-like role. As for the demon god priest, he can even lead a demon priest to compete for the position of the real demon divine king. The 7 great demon kings. Even though Aaliyah's sanity is incomplete, Yi Zan feels that he can trust his followers. I want this godhead fruit. Yi Zan took a deep breath and looked at Joanna. Wanted? Joanna was stunned for a moment, twitching the corner of her mouth slightly, and kindly persuaded. Why don't you think about it more, the noble demon god from the east? I don't want to be a treacherous businessman, but I hope to be your friend. If the relationship between us is broken because of this godhead, that is not the result I want to see. Joanna swallowed and tried her best to express her true inner thoughts in the not-so-standard Dragon Kingdom language. Yi Zan nodded. Judging from the current situation, what Joanna said is indeed true. The Global Beast Masters Association was able to extend an olive branch to him and invite him to the Winter Dungeon world, not just because of Yi Zan's strength and to want his help. At the same time, it can be regarded as a gesture of goodwill to Yi Zan, hoping to win over this demon priest. After all, the customized tickets for the Winter Dungeon are not cheap. Giving one to Yi Zan for no reason is already a great show of sincerity. Fine. Even if something goes wrong, I won't blame you. Yi Zan said calmly. Good. Seeing that Yi Zan was so determined, Joanna naturally had no reason to refuse. The Beast Masters Association itself existed like an exchange, and it was impossible for them to push out the transaction. However, those things from Japan are really not enough. Joanna looked at Yi Zan helplessly and said with a smile. I hope the demon god can understand. Yi Zan frowned. No one should dare to ask for this thing except me. Yi Zan told the truth. The death godhead, the incomplete death godhead, has a very high value. But no matter how high the value is, if it cannot be used, it is just a decoration. This is the only one in the entire world of universal job transfer. Joanna was a little anxious and said with a bitter smile. If there is a chance in the future, the association can also sell it to NPCs in other dungeon worlds. Yi Zan remained silent. Indeed. Just because the professionals in Blue Star don't have the strength to eat this thing doesn't mean that the NPCs in the dungeon world can't do it. For example, the winter world they are about to go to has countless clerical NPCs. Especially those 10,000 level priests in the Saint Laurent Empire. Facing a death godhead, you should be interested. What if we add this? Yi Zan did not give up, but took out a star core. That's right. It is the star core obtained from Prom in the Abyss world. This star core is just the most ordinary one-star star core. However, it was harvested from a demon priest. The value is naturally countless times more precious than the star core exploded by a 10,000 level god like Yamata no Orochi. And Yi Zan has 6 of these things in total, Devil Star Core. Joanna's eyelids twitched suddenly. Where's the sky? Your Majesty the demon god, have you killed a 10,000 level demon god? Joanna looked in disbelief. Yamata no Orochi is already powerful enough, but it is still not too exaggerated. It's different for the 10,000 level demon god. The demon race that has reached level 10,000 is not as powerful as an unlucky dirty thing like Yamata no Orochi. Yi Zan's strength somewhat refreshed Joanna's worldview. Is that okay? Yi Zan didn't explain where the star core came from, he just looked at Joanna and asked. Certainly, Joanna nodded with surprise. Although, a 1-star star core is much less valuable than a 3-star godhead. But a demon star core is absolutely fine. The corner of Yi Zan's mouth twitched slightly. Can your incomplete godhead compare to a complete demon star core? That was an item exploded by a demon god of level 10,000. Good. However, after the copy is over, I don't want to go to your association to dance in 3.1. Yi Zan couldn't let others take advantage of him. I must get some good stuff back. Okay. Joanna understood Yi Zan's intention and did not refuse, but just nodded. Most of the things in the association are nothing compared to the star core and godhead. If Yi Zan wants something, just take it. Being able to make friends with such a mysterious demon from Great Shaw in the East is a good deal. Soon, Yi Zan and Joanna completed the deal, and both parties were extremely happy. Your Majesty the demon god, they have arrived. Joanna sensed the call of her partner, looked at Yi Zan and said. They naturally refer to other members of the Beast Masters Association, as well as some clergy who are good friends with the association. It can be regarded as the most powerful existence in the world. Okay, let's go together. Yi Zan nodded, immediately. The teleportation circle was opened, and Yi Zan and Joanna went to an ancient holy see. The headquarters of the Global Beast Masters Association is established in an ancient holy see in the west. At this time, more than 100 professionals in the holy see were ready to go, waiting for the arrival of Yi Zan and Joanna. We are coming. The brilliant light shredded the space, and Joanna's voice sounded. Immediately, she and a tall, handsome Eastern professional jumped out of the magic circle. Let me introduce to you, this is the newly promoted god of the great true dragon kingdom. The one who destroyed the Japanese world and killed the Yamata no Orochi boss, the great Sha demon god. Joanna raised her head and looked at more than 100 professionals with an extremely excited expression. She spoke the official language of the Eagle American Federation. After all, most of the spirit partitioning practitioners and demigods present came from the West and Tsarist Russia. Immediately afterwards, Joanna turned her head again, half-squinted her beautiful eyes, looked at Yi Zan brightly and said with a smile. Your Majesty the demon god, they are our companions this time. Most of them are members of the association, and some are clergy who have good relations with our association. Yi Zan nodded and glanced at everyone present. Name, Yelena. Priesthood. Royal God Strength. 251 star God Godhead. Light, 1 star. Taming, 1 star. Praise, 0 star. Level. LV.12400 HP. 142 billion combat strength. 3 stars. Name. Caesar. Occupation. God Controller, Dragon Tamer. Strength. 2 star God Godhead. Taming, 2 stars. Thunder, 1 star. Space, 1 star. Gravity, 1 star. Grade. LV.13200. LV.7400 HP. 215 billion combat strength. 6 stars. Yi Zan took a look at the professionals in the Holy See. There were quite a few, more than 100 in total, most of whom were at semi-divine level and had not been promoted to gods. Among them, only 7 professionals are considered true clergy, with more than 10,000 levels. Among them, 2 priests caught Yi Zan's attention. One came from Tsarist Russia and was the famous Peter X. Named Yelena. She has 3 godheads, 2 of which have reached 1 star strength. Light is a very conventional godhead, with a slight similarity to sun, and can better control the light magic element. As for domestication, it is the exclusive godhead of the Beast Master. Of course, what made Yi Zan a little curious was the singing godhead who had not yet been promoted to 1 star. This thing is similar to an amplification system of godhead, which allows the controlled beast to obtain higher 4-dimensional attributes and even touch the power of some rules. In terms of junior priesthood, it should be a relatively strong godhead. Yelena almost represents the highest level of all beast masters in the world. And another professional, from the West, is also a nominal member of the Beastmaster Association, Caesar. Double priesthood? Yi Zan couldn't help but half-squinted his eyes, a little surprised. That's right. Caesar is an alternative. He has 2 priesthoods, one of which is the end of the Beast Master's sequence, the God Controller, and the other is actually the Dragon Tamer. The Divine Order of Dragon Knight? Yi Zan frowned and muttered silently in his heart. This sequence of priesthood was the first time Yi Zan saw it. It should be considered a good priesthood. If you add the original God Control, Caesar's Taming Soul formation should be very powerful. Thunder and lightning, space, gravity. Yi Zan looked at Caesar's godhead sequence and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. With the blessing of dual priesthoods, this Beastmaster had 4 godheads at the same time, and they were all 1 star strong. With the addition of 2 professions, his combat power has reached 6 stars, almost catching up with Promi's level. After understanding the situation a little, Yi Zan withdrew his gaze. Caesar's combat power is indeed not low, but compared with Yi Zan, it should be nothing. After all, today's Yi Zan should be able to suppress Promi. Although his attribute template does not show the entry of combat power, his combat power is at least level 8 or above. Neither Caesar nor Peter X Elena of Tsarist Russia pose any threat to him. Certainly, at this time, Yi Zan was a little moved by Caesar's divinity. If these four godheads can be plundered, Yi Zan's power of rules will definitely increase countless times. Especially the two godheads of lightning and gravity, if used in conjunction with the space godhead. The power they unleash will definitely not be small. Golden Smaug. Dragon Tamer. Yi Zan thought secretly in his heart. I am a little wary of Caesar. The ultimate target of the winter dungeon they were heading to this time was naturally the 10,000 level boss, Golden Smaug, and as a giant dragon, Yi Lai didn't believe that the beast masters in front of him had no ideas. Especially Caesar, who has the Dragon Tamer priesthood, will probably try to tame the boss Smaug. Have you taken all the good things? How can it be? No one else could take advantage of Yi Zan's presence. But, it doesn't matter, at least Yi Zan has understood the situation of Caesar, Yelena and others, but they have no understanding of Yi Zan. Because, under the effect of the almost abnormal ability of plundering the boss template, Yi Zan can check the detailed attributes of other priests at will. How can I plunder the template if I can't view it? But others were unable to see through Yi Zan's trump card. This is equivalent to one being in the light and the other in the dark. Yi Zan can completely control the situation. At the same time, while Yi Zan was looking at everyone, 530 they were also looking at Yi Zan. Is this the great Shah demon god who killed Yamata no Orochi? He looks so young. His real age shouldn't be very old, right? Hi, he's so handsome. The demon priest. A mysterious professional from the east. Vice President Joanna is so awesome, she was able to invite all the demon gods from Great Shah. This time our association has gathered the strongest group of clerics in the world. Apart from those stubborn guys who don't cooperate, this should also be considered the strongest combat force in the entire world, right? However, be careful. It is said that this demon is extremely cruel. Don't offend him, otherwise the country behind you will perish. Tell me, Kayalina, is she as powerful as the great Shah demon god? More than 100 demigods were talking about it. The 7 priests didn't say much, they just stared at Yi Zan quietly with half-closed eyes. It seems that he wants to use the power of his godhead to find out the details of Yi Zan. Pity. In the end, they failed. Joanna, let's get started. Suddenly, Caesar frowned, looked at Joanna with a slightly impatient expression and said, "It's been delayed for so long, don't wait any longer, and quickly start entering the dungeon." As soon as Caesar's words fell, the whole place immediately fell silent, and everyone looked at this powerful Western god. Okay, I will activate the ticket now. Joanna was stunned for a moment, glanced at Caesar who was looking impatient, and said with a forced smile. No way. Caesar's strength is very strong. Even though his identity as a dual priest is not known to everyone, Caesar's first priest level is very high and he has killed 10,000 level boss. Therefore, Joanna did not dare to offend Caesar. What's more, Caesar's function in the Global Beastmaster Association is only nominal and not a real official member. If Caesar is offended, the association will also lose a powerful priest. At the same time, when Caesar's voice sounded, more than 100 demigods present fell silent. Because, the atmosphere has become a little cold. Caesar's words seemed to be urging Joanna, but in fact they were filled with dissatisfaction with Yi Zan. One is a mysterious demon from Great Shah who destroyed the Japanese cherry blossoms. A powerful royal god from an ancient Western family. He has tamed countless giant dragon mounts with terrifying bloodlines. He is also the highest level among the people. No matter which one it is, no one present can afford to offend him. Don't take it too seriously, noble Great Shah demon god. At this moment, a beautiful girl with long golden wavy hair stood slightly on tiptoes and walked towards Yi Zan. Her tall figure had extremely graceful curves, and her raised capital was almost to the point of wearing off her clothes. The buttons were burst. Yi Zan withdrew his eyes from Caesar and placed them on the blonde beauty, his brows raised involuntarily. Audrey. They are also beast masters. He is considered a core member of the Beast Tamer Association, second only to Yelena in strength. Good. Facing Audrey's bright smile, Yi Zhan nodded and said nothing more. However, he already had some ideas in his mind. Western noble blood? Hee. As long as the time is right, Yi Zhan will definitely not let Caesar go. It's not that there is much hatred between them, but those few gods. Yi Zhan has already made up his mind. Your Majesty the demon god, please help me later. My undead skeleton is too fragile. Audrey narrowed her eyes slightly and smiled brightly. Yi Zhan didn't respond, his eyes still wandered around Audrey's body. Ahem. Help you? How to help? Audrey's priesthood is a pet beast that can be contracted by the royal god, or the believer is completely different from Caesar. You can understand the priesthood sequence of Audrey is regarded as the 10 summoners of the undead. She can summon countless terrifying undead skeletons. Of course, you can also focus on cultivating certain undead species. If I have to say it, Audrey's priesthood is very strong at the early stage of the god level. After all, the summoned skeleton can still be resurrected after death. Even if it is completely crushed, more undead creatures can be summoned from another world. The only thing that affects Audrey's strength is her mana. It depends on the situation. Yi Zhan smiled faintly. Facing such a beautiful Western girl with an active personality and good intentions, Yi Zhan did not need to ignore her and just dealt with it casually. Okay. Audrey smiled contentedly. Soon, under Joanna's guidance, all preparations have been completed. Everyone, you can use your admission ticket. Joanna looked at the clergy and said, looking equally excited. Yi Zhan nodded and operated the ticket in his hand as Joanna said. Ding! Congratulations, you have successfully entered the second world, Winter. Your current location, the forbidden area of the Golden Smaug boss. As a cold reminder sounded, Yi Zhan immediately felt an extremely majestic magical element, which was crazily weathering his body. Ding! You have received the Forbidden Land buff and are losing 2,000 health points every second. Ding! You have received the Forbidden Land buff, and your mana has dropped by 30%. Ding! You've been hit. Yi Zhan frowned. It is indeed a copy of Winter. Just entering this place, I was directly attacked by countless Forbidden Land buffs, losing 2,000 points of blood per second. For priests like Yi Zhan and Yelena, it is indeed not too exaggerated. But, if you stay in the dungeon for a long time, the accumulated damage points you receive will not be low. Not to mention, next, they have to deal with various god-level bosses in the Forbidden Area, as well as the final boss Smaug. It's a little different from the Abyss world. Yi Zhan nodded and thought to himself. He has also been to other world-level copies in high latitudes, such as the Abyss world. But after going to that place, Yi Zhan did not receive any buff attacks. Perhaps that's because Yi Zhan himself already has the priesthood of, titled Demon God. There are only 72 existences in the entire vast Abyss world. And presumably he will not be attacked by the will of the world. As for buff, Yi Zhan and other semi-divine level professionals are from Blue Star themselves, so they are naturally affected by Blue Star rules. In their eyes, buff is actually a manifestation of power in the Winter Dungeon world. Even other NPCs in the Winter Dungeon, such as the 10,000 level Magister of the Saint Laurent Empire, or other existences. After arriving in the forbidden area of the Golden Smaug boss, they will continue to lose blood and cast various forbidden spells. And skill effects will be affected. These buffs are not just for professionals in Blue Star. How exaggerated, 2,000 health points are dropped every second. We are only on the edge of the dragon's forbidden land now. If we continue to move forward, the weakening effect of this buff on us will be even stronger. Let's summon the beast. If we continue like this, I'm afraid my health bar will bottom out before I even see the Golden Smaug. Fortunately, I did some strategy before and brought enough life potions. It is indeed a world-level copy. It is much scarier than expected. I'm a little envious of Audrey now. Her summons don't seem to be affected by buff, and her health bar didn't drop. After seeing the horror of the Forbidden Land buff, all the demigods were shocked and couldn't help but start talking. As for the priesthood of beast masters, they also summoned their own pet beasts or summoned objects immediately. All of a sudden, at first glance, they were all pet beasts of various bloodlines and races, making the originally monotonous hunting group become lively. Your Majesty the Demon God, I have a lot of star-level life potions here, take them. I wonder if Joanna told you about the situation in the Winter world, but fortunately I am well prepared. Audrey was followed by more than a dozen huge, skeleton tyrants. The levels of these undead skeletons were all semi-priest level. The weakest ones were over 2,000 levels, while the strongest ones reached level 6,000 levels. Unnecessary. Yi Zan smiled lightly and refused Audrey's life potion. He did not lack such a thing. There were too many resources plundered from Japan, and Yi Zan had too many consumables such as life potions to count. Okay. Audrey raised her lips and leaned next to Yi Zan. I have a very good relationship with Joanna. Li Des, told me about your situation. I believe that we can also be friends. Audrey's Dragon Country language was even worse than Joanna's, and her words were even less expressive. But Yi Zan didn't care about this. He could see that this priest of the undead summoner sequence had no ill intentions toward him. Okay. Yi Zan touched his nose and stopped talking to Audrey, instead focusing on where he was currently. This is a Holy See. That's right. It is a bit similar to the headquarters of the Beastmaster Association. If he had not used the admission ticket, Yi Zan would have thought that he had not come to the winter dungeon. In front of Yi Zan and others there is a dark corridor. It's time to go. At the same time, Joanna took a deep breath and looked firmly in front of the Holy See, about to lead everyone away from the starting point of the Holy See. However, at this moment, a burst of exclamations suddenly erupted from the crowd. No, that's a 10,000 level boss rape. For a moment, everyone couldn't help but frown and looked along the dark corridor. At the end of the corridor connecting the Holy See, a 10,000 level boss indeed appeared. However, the shape of this boss is a bit weird. Because, to be precise, this is not a head, but an extremely rare plant-type boss. The starting point of Yi Zan and the others, this ancient Holy See, was actually very large. If we had to count it, all the buildings in Zhanghai City could hardly reach half the height of this Holy See. But what about the big tree boss at the end of the corridor? But it's 3 times higher than the Holy See. Incomparably huge and shocking height, countless leaves, showing a gold-like texture, just hanging down, dense roots and countless black shadows flickering and jumping in the big tree. Those black shadows are not bugs either, even though it seems a bit small compared to the big tree boss. Compared with professionals like Yi Zan, it is still a giant. Golden ancient tree boss? Those are half-divine level demons? Audrey's pupils beside Yi Zan suddenly shrank, her mouth opened slightly, and she was extremely shocked, Earthshaker said. At the same time, Yi Zan also threw out an identification technique and checked the detailed attribute panel of the Golden Ancient Tree. Name 077. The Golden Ancient Tree that never withers, Golden Smaug Forbidden Land Boss. Strength. 2-star God Godhead. Life, 2 stars, Wither, 1 star. Level. LV.21400 HP. 24 trillion, 20 trillion of which are Forbidden Land buff blessings. Exclusive item. Golden Ancient Tree Life Armor, Legendary +5. Combat Strength. 4 stars, such a strong vitality. Yi Zan half squinted his eyes, staring at the attribute bar of the Golden Ancient Tree boss, and couldn't help but raise his eyelids. Exuberant indeed. As a god-level boss, the Golden Ancient Tree's health has reached a shocking 24 trillion points, which is countless times stronger than low-dimensional boss like Yamata no Orochi. How much health does Caesar, who has dual priesthoods, have? It's just over 200 billion points. As for the Golden Ancient Tree, its life strength is directly more than 100 times higher than Caesar's. However, even when faced with such an existence, Yi Zan was not too shocked and quickly returned to his normal expression. The boss is determined by the world's will to change jobs by all people has better 4-dimensional attributes than professionals like Joanna. Not only this, CFBJ, Golden Ancient Tree that never withers, but also Prom in the Abyss world. It has an extremely exaggerated health bar. For Yi Zan, these are normal. Even though his current HP is not as domineering as the Golden Ancient Tree, it is far superior to Caesar and other priests. Quick! Back off! Back off! Be careful not to be hit by the attack of the Golden Ancient Tree. No, damn demons. Watch out for those semi-divine level demons that are coming towards you. At the same time, Joanna reminded the stunned people with an extremely shocked expression. And she immediately commanded her pet beasts, and various strange-shaped monsters stood in front of Joanna, helping her resist the magical elements thrown by the golden ancient tree. Hiss! These demons are too ferocious. In the crowd, a half-divine level beastmaster said in an incredible voice, his body trembling slightly. Yi Zan looked over. A large group of black shadows flew out from the leaves of the golden ancient tree boss and pounced on the team like locusts. These black shadows were half-divine level monsters with demon blood. Each demon had a ferocious appearance, revealing his eyes were as golden as gold. Half-divine level demon. Demons of this level are just cannon fodder in Yi Zan's eyes. He has eliminated countless semi-divine level demons in the Abyss world. But these monsters caused the team to fall into panic in an instant, with everyone's expression showing a hint of panic. Except for Caesar's 7 priests and Joanna, everyone was not calm. They did not expect that they would see such a shocking scene just after entering the forbidden area of the Golden Smaug copy. Another 20,000 level golden ancient tree boss, and another group of demons crashing in like waves. We won't die here directly, right? In the team, a beast master with a level of only over 4,000 was frowning tightly, already feeling a little desperate. Order! At this moment, Yelena, who was at the front of the team, stood up and began to command the other demigods in the team. Her voice was a little cold, and she stood in the front like a queen. Keep the order. Attack the golden ancient tree first. Yelena said with a heavy expression. Immediately, in front of her, a woman filled with holy light appeared. That's not a creature from the Blue Star, but an angel. No, not a pure blood angel. Just some kind of creature with angel blood. But even so, there were still white wings waving behind the angel. She just raised her hands slightly, the bright and powerful light illuminated the entire holy sea. Those dark demons couldn't help but let out a miserable howl as soon as their bodies came into contact with the angel's holy light. Immediately, the demon's body was burned, burning into traces of ashes. Yelena's summon, or believer, is a half-blood angel. Yi Zan's eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly. Angel? If Yelena's template is plundered, will this hybrid angel serve me as the king? The angels tamed by Yelena are not too strong, and Yi Zan can easily crush them. However, as an extremely rare angel bloodline, Yi Zan wanted to conquer it. If he was lucky, it might bring him some unexpected benefits. For example, in the Abyss world, the power of angels definitely has a restraining effect on demons. It can give Yi Zan many advantages. Even more, can this kind of thing have the effect of the chip that Promi mentioned? Can an angel who is as good as a 10,000 level boss, even if his bloodline is not so pure, still pose a threat to the high-level demons in the Abyss world? If possible, then Yelena, that angel, and Yi Zan are bound to win. It's just a 20,000 level boss, and you are so panicked. Original. Under Yelena's command, the entire team has gradually restored order, begun to stabilize the situation, and even has a faint tendency to move forward. However, Caesar, who was on one side of the team at this time, couldn't help but snorted coldly, glanced at the semi-priests in the team with a cold and contemptuous look and said, "It's such a drag to take you with me." Caesar's voice sounded, and everyone couldn't help but frown, looking a little uncomfortable. As for Caesar, he took 2 steps forward. Behind him, an extremely huge dragon suddenly emerged from the black mist. It was an anomaly dragon with 2 heads, but its body was like emerald, shining with dazzling luster, and every scale was shining. Emerald dragon? Yi Zan's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but murmur to himself, "A 2-star strength emerald dragon? Audrey can summon a semi-divine level undead skeleton. What Yelena has domesticated is a sacred life with angelic blood." As for Caesar, who has dual priesthoods, he has tamed countless giant dragons. The most powerful of them is the 2-headed dragon he has summoned now. A priesthood sequence promoted by the Emerald Dragon. Name: Greedy Predator Emerald Dragon, original final boss of the Roman dungeon. Strength: 2-star Godhead. Greed, 2 stars. Devouring, 2 stars. Thunder, 1 star. Level: LV.14200 HP. 2 trillion combat strength, 6 stars. Note: the Emerald Dragon with 2 heads, the ultimate boss in the original Roman dungeon, comes from the world of job transfer. One of the heads has the power to control thunder and lightning. You need to be careful about this powerful god-level dragon. Its power does not belong to Blue Star. It is an item abandoned by a certain high-latitude species. Yi Zan set his sights on the emerald dragon, and under the effect of its own abilities, detailed attributes and annotations appeared. Ravenous predator? Higher dimensional species? Abandoned area? Yi Zan couldn't help frowning, and thought to himself, it's not the boss in Blue Star, but the experimental product abandoned by the gods of higher dimensions? Judging from the comments column, this emerald dragon does look like a test subject. In other words, a life in a higher dimension wanted to cultivate some kind of monster with anomaly power, but unfortunately, the path went astray in the end. So it was thrown away? As it happens, Kai missed it. No wonder, although it is the ultimate boss in the Roman dungeon, it has 2 trillion health points. Yi Zan nodded. The level of this giant dragon is indeed relatively high. It has reached more than 14,000 levels. However, the health intensity is countless times higher than that of Yamata no Orochi, who is also a 10,000 level boss. Yamata no Orochi only has a lot of health, which is not even as good as Caesar and other priests. According to Blue Star's world will, the copy in the low-level civilization simply cannot create such a powerful god-level boss. The only possibility is that, as Yi Zan guessed, this emerald dragon was created by the god Gaowei. The second head controls the regular power of thunder and lightning. Yi Zan glanced at the 2 twisted heads of the emerald dragon. The neck was very long, comparable to the Yamata no Orochi. One of the dragon heads was indeed shining with pure and violent thunder elemental luster. The other 2 gods? Greed and devour? Yi Zan raised his eyelids. So, can a giant emerald dragon be promoted to a rank of more than 10,000 levels all by relying on these 2 godheads? Yi Zan was secretly surprised. These 2 gods. It was the first time he saw it. Details are currently unavailable. But, judging from the name, it should be something that can enhance the potential of a god? I think so. Otherwise, as a professional in Blue Star, how could Caesar cultivate a pet beast with the same combat power of 6 stars? Caesar and Yi Zan are different. Yi Zan has the ability to plunder boss templates and can go to the abyss world. His resources and innate advantages are too strong. Other professionals simply cannot catch up with him. So, the fact that this giant emerald dragon can grow to this extent relies on its own godhead, not Caesar's ability to control beasts. Destroy this golden ancient tree that will never wither. Caesar stood at the front of the team, holding an ancient spear tightly in his hand, and gave instructions to the emerald dragon in the sky. However, the giant emerald dragon with 2 heads suddenly turned its head and glared at Caesar with those 2 heads and 4 pupils of different colors. The violent thunder and lightning elements and hot flames trembled in the air, a few times. The air is somewhat torn, with countless ripples and vortices oscillating. Caesar's expression changed slightly, immediately. The emerald dragon did not do anything to Caesar, but instead focused on the golden ancient tree boss. The powerful thunder and lightning element made the entire ancient holy sea shake. See here. Yi Zan's pupils couldn't help but shrink, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It seems Caesar did not fully control this emerald dragon. Even though his combat power was 6 stars, he was still in the priestly rank of beast master. The emerald dragon didn't have the respect for him that he had to surrender to a monarch. Elia is completely different from Yi Zan. Even pet beasts such as the infernal dragon respect Yi Zan's attitude and will not feel dissatisfied at all. Roar! The giant emerald dragon let out a deafening roar. Under everyone's gaze, the terrifying lightning luster shook out layer by layer. All the demons that came into contact with the lightning magic elements exploded in an instant. It exploded into a sky full of data modules. Then, the giant emerald dragon raised its 2 heads, jumped up, and pounced on the golden ancient tree boss. Countless forbidden spells and the power of Godhead's rules poured down like a waterfall, all hitting the huge tree. The branches and leaves of the golden ancient tree swayed crazily, and many leaves had even been cursed by lightning. It was shot down and pierced into the ground like a blade. The bright and splendid forbidden curse light reflected on everyone's faces. Even the ancient holy sea behind them was illuminated. The deafening explosion of the forbidden curse merged with the roar of the dragon. Such shocking scenes and background sound effects. All the professionals, including Joanna, couldn't help showing a look of astonishment, and looked at the jade-eyed dragon with a little fear in their eyes. Very powerful indeed. The Emerald Dragon can actually challenge the eternal golden ancient tree boss and the semi-divine level demons all over the sky at the same time. This kind of strength can already crush most of the professionals present except Yelena. For a moment, there was a burst of whispers in the team. Is this Caesar? Sure enough, he is the bloodline of the oldest family in the West. It's amazing. There seems to be a great emperor in Western history? How powerful is this pet beast? It can resist the 4-star divine golden ancient tree boss. It must be 5-star at the end, right? No wonder Joanna and the association have always wanted to retain Caesar. He does have something to be proud of. Thunder Godhead? There is also a lightning forbidden spell with the same god level strength? Hiss, King of Thunder and Lightning? That's crazy? As soon as those demons came into contact with the Emerald Dragon, they were directly blasted into ashes by lightning. And now, the golden ancient tree is also shaking crazily, and the health bar has dropped by more than 100 billion points. So what? He says we are a drag. No matter how powerful we are, I don't like Caesar's bad temper. More than 100 professionals expressed their shock. Of course, there are also some veteran beastmasters in the association who sneer at Caesar. He is indeed very strong, but he is not so powerful that one person can challenge the entire Beast Tamer Association. Most of the professionals just came to the Winter Dungeon for the first time, but they were shocked by the golden ancient tree and those semi-divine level demons, and all of a sudden there was no order. If everyone in the team releases their forbidden spells and skills in an orderly manner, the power they unleash cannot be underestimated. Under the eyes of everyone, the gorgeous and splendid golden ancient tree was shaking crazily, and countless golden leaves had fallen down. The legendary golden ancient tree that never withers seems to be about to wither. Even withered, however, a burst of magical elements that were more dazzling than the lightning forbidden spell released by the Emerald Dragon suddenly spread out from behind the golden ancient tree. The ancient tree boss, whose original health bar had dropped by more than 100 billion points, was once again glowing, a new life. Not only that, a larger number of semi-divine level demons also emerged from behind the ancient tree. This time the number was almost 10 times that of the first wave of demons. For a moment, everyone in the audience had stiff expressions. Ding! The eternal golden ancient tree boss, the health value has been increased. Ding! The eternal golden ancient tree boss, the divine power has been increased. OJ! Not only did there appear dozens of times more semi-divine level demons than before. At the same time, the combat power of the golden ancient tree boss is also increasing. The big tree that originally only had a 4-star combat power, in the eyes of everyone, the combat power value displayed went crazy and Ascension reached a 5-star level. 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars. In the end, it stayed at 8-star intensity. Not only the combat power, but also the boss's health value is rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just an instant, the health bar that was originally wiped out by the Emerald Dragon has returned to 24 trillion points again. No, not just 24 trillion health points. The health bar is still increasing, and finally settled at 30 trillion. At this moment, the Zero Sanchi expressions of all the professionals were stiff, and their pupils were filled with shocking emotions. Too exaggerated, they're just now at the starting point of the instance. However, I encountered such a terrifying god-level boss. Even the golden ancient tree boss in its initial state is enough to threaten the semi-divine level professionals present. What now? The golden ancient tree that has completed its transformation is no longer at a level that a semi-divine level can resist. All of a sudden, even Yelena, Audrey and others couldn't help but their pupils jumped twice. They were really shocked. Da. One of the golden ancient tree's chasing strips, like a tentacle, was raised high and directed towards the Emerald Dragon. The Emerald Dragon's health bar suddenly dropped. Dha. Another click. The counterattack of the golden ancient tree has begun. Even the plant-type boss still has wisdom. It is not just a data module, it is a life of flesh and blood. How could professionals like Yi Zhan be allowed to attack recklessly? At the god level, the movements and reaction speeds are extremely exaggerated. Even Joanna and the others can't see clearly the attack movements of the golden ancient tree. Only roots could be seen, falling down crazily like a waterfall with a crackling sound. The roots whipped the air, leaving countless afterimages. As for the Emerald Dragon, its life is constantly being lost. Roar! The emerald dragon was imprisoned by countless roots, and terrible magic element fluctuations were born from behind the golden ancient tree. The target was naturally the giant anomaly with 2 heads. The most terrifying thing about plant-type boss is that they release forbidden spells or skills without chanting, and there is no delay at all. Countless forbidden spells can be erupted at the same time. The innate excess mana allows them to release forbidden spells without limit, and even use the power of rules. Otherwise, the plant-type boss cannot survive at all. Can't move anywhere. Can't we let people have some advantages? The situation presented a one-sided pattern. The originally extremely powerful emerald dragon was now imprisoned by the golden ancient tree and was beaten to the point of being out of breath. Professionals like Yelena and others were also hit hard. Countless semi-divine level demons rushed towards them like locusts. The number was already dizzying. In Yi Zan's eyes, the health points of several semi-divine level demons were about to be wiped out. 0. Damn! These demons are so scary. What a shocking scene. When will the mana of the golden ancient tree boss be exhausted? The magic defense is almost overwhelmed. Not good. My mana is almost drained. If this continues, we will all be in dire straits. A pet animal has died. What should I do? Everyone looked extremely shocked and anxious. Many Beastmaster's pet beasts died completely under the attacks of demons and ancient trees. The magic defense created by the skills of some demigods also showed countless cracks and was about to explode. Yelena, Audrey, and other priests rushed to the front, resisting the waterfall-like forbidden spell attack from the golden ancient tree boss. Pity. What makes everyone despair is that the golden ancient tree seems to have a steady stream of life force. Even if it has been bombarded for a long time, the power of the forbidden curse and the godhead has not ceased. On the contrary, it is stronger than at the beginning. Your Majesty the demon god? Joanna swallowed, turned back anxiously, and glanced at Yi Zan. Kill the golden ancient tree boss, and the final boss reward will be mine, right? Yi Zan saw Joanna's intention and asked calmly. Actually, if possible, Yi Zan had no intention of clearing the winter dungeon with Joanna and the others. Because other professionals, including Caesar, are no longer on the same level as Yi Zan. Give away boss rewards and other loot for no reason? How can it be? This is not Yi Zan's style. Of course, Yi Zan didn't know much about the world of Winter Dungeon. It was a good deal for Joanna and the others to provide valuable information. However, if Yi Zan takes action, he will not be able to part with the items that the golden ancient tree boss finally drops. It is impossible to separate even a single bit, certainly. Joanna nodded bitterly and said with a smile. Her voice was loud enough that other professionals could hear it, so they naturally acquiesced to this promise. The next moment, all eyes focused on Yi Zan. You guys stand back. Yi Zan suddenly gathered momentum and took a step forward. The muscles all over his body were like withered flowers, trembling slightly, and a new body grew out of Yi Zan's body. 12-winged flame-winged demon. This is not a real Balrog, but a demon priest who has gained godhood. It can be said that at this time, the Balrog has been trained by Yi Zan to an extremely terrifying and powerful version. Even the Balrog tyrant will bow down. XBB. Yi Zan spread his arms slightly, and the fallen angel cross sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Even the incomplete divine weapon was still held in Yi Zan's hand. At this time, the golden ancient tree boss's combat power had reached 8 stars. Although it was only a temporary enhanced version, Yi Zan still did not take it too seriously. The strongest opponent he has ever seen, except for Prom, the demon who did not start a fight, the golden ancient tree is considered the strongest. But so what? It's just a big tree that can't be moved. Is it strong? What is Yi Zan's biggest advantage? Isn't it the 4-dimensional attribute? Even though there are not many gods and the gods are not powerful, after absorbing the vast number of demon species, the boss template and 4-dimensional attribute points that Yi Zan possesses are definitely not what Caesar and the others can imagine. That kind of 5.0 height. It has even crushed the golden ancient tree, a 20,000 level divine boss. With a bang, Yi Zan set off. With the blessing of the sun godhead, he was like a stream of light. It was too fast. No, not in action. Even these priests like Yelena could not see clearly where Yi Zan was. They could only see a little light flashing crazily. In the end, even the flickering light was gone. Hiss. This is Yi Zan's current physical strength, or four-dimensional attributes. With the help of terrifying agility points, his movements are so fast that the car gods would be stunned. It's completely different from Caesar's 1-2 punch fighting style. The moment Yi Zan sets off, his style of painting is completely different. Boom! The health bar of the golden ancient tree boss was falling crazily, one after another, until finally, there was a click. The health bar is cleared. As the health bar of the eternal golden ancient tree boss was cleared, the entire ancient holy sea suddenly became extremely quiet. In the quiet holy sea, all the professionals were completely shocked. Silence. His expression was petrified, body stiffness. Too crazy. Who would have thought that the 20,000 level golden ancient tree boss would even have an 8-star combat power after being strengthened? Even veteran clergy such as Caesar have been suppressed to the point of suffocation. As for Yi Zan, he almost didn't use the power of any forbidden spell, and relied on his pure four-dimensional attributes to knock the golden ancient tree to death again and again? It's so frustrating for a 20,000 level boss to die. My god, how fishy is this mysterious Eastern demon priest? The 8-star combat power. The strengthened ancient tree boss is already comparable to the priests of the older generation, and he actually used the purest power to kill the boss like this while alive? Crazy. This is no longer a level that professionals in Blue Star can reach. Who is the drag? Caesar's expression has froze. I don't know what he is thinking now. 25. That anomaly's emerald dragon, even with the power of thunder and lightning, cannot shake the ancient tree boss, but the devil can ravage it at will. He won't surpass level 10 combat power, right? We and the demon god of Great Shah are no longer in the same world. Crazy. All the divine level professionals in the room went crazy in an instant. Their expressions were extremely shocked, and they had become somewhat incoherent. And at this time, Caesar frowned, looking at Yi Zan with a hint of complicated emotions. Ding, congratulations, you have gained 20 billion experience points. Ding, congratulations, you have obtained the boss exclusive item. Golden Ancient Tree Life Armor, Legendary Level +5. Ding, congratulations, you have obtained a divine weapon fragment. At the same time, a cold reminder sounded in Yi Zan's mind, and he raised his brows slightly, with a hint of surprise in his expression. Another piece of legendary equipment. Legendary armor has a very high gold content. Looking at the entire world of job transfer, there are only a handful of weapons that reach legendary strength. Even when going to the winter dungeon world this time, the goal that most beast masters pursue is just a piece of legendary equipment. Now, Yi Zan has received such an ultimate boss reward in advance. Certainly, in addition to legendary items, Yi Zan also received a fragment of divine weapon. No detailed notes. Yi Zan looked at an object that looked like bronze in his hand, and was inexplicably stunned. This fragment. There is not much introduction, only one entry, which is an incomplete fragment of the artifact. Gone. Yi Zan was stunned. Fallen Angel Cross Sword. At least the detailed situation was informed, and it can be repaired using star core and high-level weapons. As for this divine weapon, I don't know if it is more mysterious or has a more powerful source, but the conditions for repairing it are not even introduced. Let's leave it for now. We'll talk about it later. Yi Zan nodded and put away the fragments. The two weapons did not cause much trouble in Yi Zan's heart. Even the more than 20 billion experience points were considered a very conventional reward for Yi Zan. The experience points he harvested in the Abyss world have long exceeded 20 billion points, otherwise it would be impossible to level up all the beasts such as the Infernal Dragon. What Yi Zan is most looking forward to is naturally the boss template of the Golden Ancient Tree. His ability can be regarded as a rule-based ability. As long as there are templates, you can definitely be plundered by Yi Zan. No matter if you are the boss, if I say you are, then you must be. 2-star Life Godhead, 1-star Withering Godhead. Yi Zan licked the corner of his mouth, and his eyes burst into a burst of surprise. Very powerful. Compared with the 3-star Godhead power of the Sun Godhead, it is indeed a bit weaker, but Yi Zan only has 2 Godheads in total now. Life and Withering are far stronger than the Space Godhead obtained from Yamata no Orochi. That Godhead is not even a 1-star level, it is just a primary state. AP. Yi Zan took a deep breath and used the power of his Godhead. Under his gaze, the trace of blood lost in the battle was restored to full health. Not only that, what shocked Yi Zan even more was that his blood bar was increasing at an extremely slow speed. This is not restoring blood, instead, it is increasing the maximum health limit. In other words, under the effect of this godhead, my health can grow infinitely. Yi Zan's heart couldn't help but tremble. So powerful, however, it is understandable if you think about it. The godhead itself is a power that can only be possessed by gods. For ordinary professionals, each godhead is a power beyond cognition. Or, it can also be regarded as the same as Goldfinger, plug-in. Being strong is normal, it's a little weird to be weak. Yi Zan looked to the side with a hint of expectation. There were still some, surviving, semi-divine level demons in the Holy See. Originally, in the aftermath of Yi Zan's battle with the Golden Ancient Tree boss, the vast and crazy magical elements had already burned most of the demons into ashes, and they could no longer die. Some of the demons, as the Golden Ancient Tree collapsed, all flew further away, escaping from Yi Zan's clutches. These semi-divine level demons in the Holy See are the last to be left alone, poor creatures. Yi Zan is going to use them to test the power of the new godhead. Withered, Yi Zan found an extremely large semi-divine level demon with a good level, already around level 6000. If this demon is given a certain amount of time to grow, it may be able to be promoted to a god. But now, the devil's fate is about to be ended. Sure enough, under everyone's gaze and Yi Zan's expectation, the demon trembled suddenly, as if it was imprisoned by some high-dimensional power. The body began to sink downwards. Senescence. Health points dropped like crazy. Roar. The dark demon seemed not to sit still and wait for death, but wanted to struggle to the death. It shook its head, and its golden pupils stared at the ceiling mural of the Vatican. Flames and thunder and lightning flickered in the devil's mouth. They were not the power of the godhead, but simply lightning skills and the innate forbidden flame curse. Pity. Under the effect of the withered godhead, the brilliance in the devil's mouth only shone brightly for a moment and then was extinguished. Like a candle that cannot be lit, all life was lost. Is this the power of withering? Yi Zan swallowed his saliva and murmured thoughtfully. The body is aging, the health value has dropped crazily, and even the power he originally possessed cannot be used. The life godhead is a blessing used on oneself, withered. It will affect other species. Both gods are extremely powerful. Yi Zan nodded with satisfaction. However, at this moment, in Yi Zan's sight, Caesar walked towards the corpse, left by the Golden Ancient Tree boss with a cold face. Devil, you are so handsome. Audrey rushed to Yi Zan with excitement on her face, raised her delicate little face and looked up at him and said. At this time, Joanna also walked towards Yi Zan, her expression still extremely shocked. She took a deep breath and then said with emotion, Honorable demon god of Great Shah, thanks to your help this time. Faced with the two women's slightly rainbow fart boasts, Yi Zan did not respond, but looked aside. Caesar was walking towards the body of the Golden Ancient Tree boss. As a plant-based boss, even if the Golden Ancient Tree does not have a body made of flesh and blood, its thick trunk and pieces of golden leaves are still extremely precious alchemical materials. Especially in a low-level civilized world like Blue Star. The value of the Golden Ancient Tree is simply immeasurable. Just like a gold mine, it is a huge wealth. Yi Zan was still in the state of the 12-winged flame demon at this time. The 12 wings behind him trembled at a high frequency, which brought him to the side of the Guangjin Ancient Tree in just an instant. Immediately, the gorgeous trunk of the Golden Ancient Tree and all the professions, including other dropped items, were collected by Yi Zan. He never glanced at Caesar from beginning to end, but calmly uttered one word, "Get out." Caesar was startled. He didn't understand the culture of the great Shalong kingdom, let alone what Fu Zan meant. After all, as the inheritor of an ancient Western family, Caesar has always been very arrogant and disdained to understand the language of Great Shah. However, Yi Zan's actions and tone were already obvious. Yi Zan did not allow Caesar to touch all the items, including corpses, that exploded after the death of the Golden Ancient Tree boss. What do you mean? Kill the Golden Ancient Tree boss, and I will also contribute. This is a team, not your own dictatorship. Caesar took a deep breath, with a trace of anger in his eyes, but he forcibly suppressed this anger, and instead stood on the moral high ground and began to criticize Yi Zan. Dictatorship? Listening to Caesar's words, all the divine level professionals in the room couldn't help but frown. Good guy. Were you not like this just now? Don't they all say that the team is a drag? Facing the invincible great Shah demon, you, Caesar, changed your face? At the same time, Yi Zan looked cold and frowned slightly. He turned his head and glanced at Caesar. Yi Zan has some understanding of the language of the Yingmei Federation. Anyway, one of the elective courses in high school is language class. Contribute. Yi Zan's tone was cold. You're right. You really should contribute your life. Contribute a priesthood template. The corner of Yi Zan's mouth raised slightly, and then he directly raised his arm. The claws in the Balrog state were only slightly facing forward. The next moment, the power of Godhead's rules completely exploded. Withered. That's right. Yi Zan used the newly acquired Godhead. After all, the half-divine level demon was too weak. Even though Yi Zan had witnessed the power of the withered Godhead, it was not pushed to its extreme state. He's ready to take action on Caesar. What are you doing? Caesar's pupils jumped suddenly and he was shocked. An indescribable panic spread deep in his eyes. At this time, Caesar had an urge to die. The vast magical elements permeating Yi Zan's body were simply not something he could resist. It's like facing a real god from high latitudes or the void. A pale golden halo emerged, and Caesar crushed a teleportation circle. He wanted to escape. Can Caesar not know the strength of Yi Zan, the golden ancient tree boss who can easily control the 8-star combat power? He knew very well that he was no match for the great Shah demon god. But now, the other party has used his divine power. Caesar's whole body muscles were trembling. Aging had already appeared on his body. Every inch of his skin began to dent, losing its original vitality. Aren't you afraid? Behind me is the old god. If the myriad race's battlefield ends, you will face the wrath of the old gods and the first gods. Caesar gasped for air, already feeling a little depressed. Terrible. Health points are falling rapidly. His health bar is about to bottom out. This is the power of the withered Godhead, and it is not entirely the suppression of the Godhead. After absorbing the extremely terrifying 4-dimensional attribute points of the golden ancient tree, Yi Zan's basic attributes have received an unprecedented enhancement. Now, even if he doesn't use any divine power, a semi-priest of Joanna's level can be crushed to death by Yi Zan. This is the scariest part of looting the boss template. Forbidden curse. Skill? None of them are the core advantages. The strongest advantage lies in attribute points. Faced with basic attributes that are 2 or 3 times that of a golden ancient tree, coupled with the terrifying destructive power of the withered Godhead, what can Caesar do even if he has dual priesthoods? Just like the demon that was crushed to death just now. Only waiting for death to come. We can only wait for the judgment of the monarch. Myriad races battlefield? Yi Zan shook his head, his eyes becoming even colder. He smiled. No explanation. The old gods behind the Yingmei Federation are indeed much more fishy than Japan. It is no exaggeration to say that the gods behind the Japanese scenes are just a pebble in the eyes of the old gods of the Eagle American Federation. But, so what if you are stronger? The difference is still in the myriad races battlefield. Can I return to Blue Star now? You have the guts to kill me? What's more, Yi Zan has already destroyed a Japanese and almost offended countless ancient gods behind the Japanese. Will you worry about another god behind the Caesar family? What a joke. There is an abyss world, with 72 demonic priesthoods, and Goldfinger, who has surpassed the world of universal job transfer. Yi Zan's growth rate can be as fast as. When the gods of the Yingmei Federation arrive, they will rise to a level that is enough to ignore the gods. This is Yi Zan's confidence. Go see your god. Yi Zan half squinted his eyes and sneered. Good money. Immediately. The terrifying magical radiance completely covered Caesar. Driven by the power of the Godhead, this dual priest of more than 10,000 levels died. This time, Yi Zan could kill Caesar faster than he could kill the golden ancient tree boss. Because he is already stronger. Ding, congratulations, you have gained 4.2 billion experience points. A cold reminder sounded. Yi Zan shrugged, feeling a little funny for no reason. So little, compared with the golden ancient tree. The experience value exploded after Caesar's death is too small. Of course, the focus is not on the experience value, but on Caesar's template and those godheads. Correct. and the anomaly's emerald dragon is also a good harvest. At the same time, when Yi Zan crushed Caesar to death and countless data modules filled the sky over the entire Holy See, everyone in the audience was stunned. Caesar is dead. Great Shah demon god. What is he going to do? All the professionals in the ancient Holy See, including Yelena and Joanna, were stunned. What's the situation? Caesar is dead. The demon god of Great Shah, who had just saved everyone from the fire and water, turned around and targeted the strongest priest in the team, and crushed Caesar to death at the slightest disagreement. It is no exaggeration to say that at this moment, the minds of all the semi-divine level professionals in the audience went blank. No idea what exactly happened. At the same time, Yi Zan's eyes couldn't help but flicker when he saw the blank expressions of Joanna and others' reactions. Do what? Do you need a reason to crush an ant to death? The reason why Yi Zan killed Caesar was too simple. Caesar not only has dual priesthoods, but the second priesthood is also the extremely rare dragon controller. Even without much thinking, you can guess that this arrogant Western noble will probably have problems at the last moment of the copy. Yi Zan doesn't believe that Caesar has no idea about the Golden Smaug boss. Probably, when Yi Zan and the demigods of these associations defeated the final boss of the dungeon, Caesar directly intercepted Hu and tried to tame the god-level dragon named Smaug. Yi Xuanqi is not only a professional in Blue Star, but also a transmigrator from another dimension. He is simply familiar with this kind of plot. There are too many in the novel. Caesar had a hint of malice towards Yi Zan as soon as he appeared on the stage. Instead of letting him sneak into the late stage, it would be better to kill him in advance. It doesn't matter if you have done anything too extreme. If I say I'll kill you, I'll kill you. If you want to blame, you can only blame yourself for being too weak. The weak have no right to speak. After going to the Abyss world once, Yi Zan understood this truth deeply, not to mention that he himself was somewhat interested in Caesar's dual priesthood. Domestication, thunder and lightning, space, gravity. Yi Zan narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling the 4 new gods he had just obtained. Thunder Godhead. It is easy to understand. It can improve the control power of thunder and lightning skills and forbidden spells. It is somewhat similar to the Sun Godhead. In an instant, Yi Zan can clearly feel that the perception of thunder and lightning elements in the entire space has increased countless times. He doesn't need to use any lightning skills, he just grabs it and throws it out. That majestic thunder and lightning magic element can form some kind of power similar to a forbidden spell, aiming and locking all targets. Even this method does not require much mana consumption. It is much easier than the mana consumed by casting a forbidden spell. Secondly, if Yi Zan, under the effect of the lightning godhead, bursts out the same sequence of forbidden spells, the power displayed will also increase countless times. Even 10 times or 100 times. Sure enough, when you reach the god level, godhood is the core advantage. Yi Zan took a deep breath and sighed secretly. As for the space godhead, Yi Zan himself has the same godhead rule. With the blessing of Caesar's godhead, Yamata no Orochi's half-star godhead disappeared. No, to be precise, it is fusion. A half-star godhead plus a 1-star godhead, Yi Zan's space godhead, gradually rose to the 1.5-star level under his gaze. Less than 2-star divine power, but it already has power beyond ordinary spirit ascension. Good. Yi Zan raised his eyebrows and murmured thoughtfully. If I were on Blue Star, I would no longer need to use any teleportation scrolls or tickets, and I could travel back and forth across the entire planet at will. Yi Zan was inexplicably shocked. This is god-level power. With the addition of Space Godhead, he can already grow to the level of a god in mythical legends. Overlord of a star. Interesting. Of course, compared to the Space Godhead, what Yi Zan looks forward to most is domestication and gravity. One is the exclusive godhead of the Beast Master sequence. The other is an extremely rare sequence branch. 2-star intensity, CFCJ, domestication? Yi Zan's pupils shrank for a while, and in his sight, the power of the godhead had been activated. As for the pet beasts in the entire Holy See, they were marked as targets. Including Audrey's skeleton tyrant, Yelena's angel believers, and the emerald dragon that has become an ownerless thing. They were all locked in by Yi Zan in an instant. These pet beasts seemed to feel Yi Zan's gaze, and they all couldn't help but raise their heads slightly, looking at Yi Zan with a little fear in their eyes. Even if I am not a beast master, I don't have the exclusive skills to tame beasts. Yi Zan was secretly surprised and said silently. However, under this taming soul formation, I can easily tame other beings into believers or pets. Demon pets such as the infernal dragon and the sacred deer. Yi was given the boss template. In a sense, it is not considered domestication. Because stray animals like Wawa are very weak in nature, and they have an emotional bond with Yi Zan himself. Everything fell into place. As for Aaliyah, the demon priest, because Aaliyah's sanity is incomplete and she belongs to the demon bloodline, it doesn't take much trouble for Yi Zan to subdue her. However, whether it is the emerald dragon, the skeleton tyrant or the hybrid angel, these are the real semi-priesthood sequences. Or God, regardless of strength or divine status, they are all relatively powerful. To be able to tame it so wantonly, it already explains the problem. The tame soul formation character is indeed extremely domineering. With a bang, the entire ancient holy sea was shaking. Under everyone's gaze, the anomaly's emerald dragon fell directly from midair, as if it was pulled by some powerful force, and died just like that. Deadly suppressed to the ground. No, not just falling to the ground. Instead, it continued to sink deeper into the ground. The marble floor of the holy sea has begun to break. For a moment, all the demigods were shocked, and their pupils were trembling. The strength of the Winter Dungeon world is completely different from that of Blue Star. All the items in this holy sea building are extremely powerful. Even the battle with the golden ancient tree boss just now did not break any marble in the holy sea. It can be understood that every stone or material in a building like the holy sea is considered to be of epic to legendary strength in the world of universal job transfer. Only, cannot be used in alchemy, unable to use and created as a weapon. However, now, the marble on the ground is broken. The power restrained by the emerald dragon cannot naturally come from itself. Who else can use such terrifying methods besides the great Sha demon god? So, at the next moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Zan. Hiss. Not good. Great Sha demon god, is he preparing to take action against others? The eyes of the whole audience were fixed on Yi Zan, and everyone's expression was extremely shocked and full of fear. Yi Zan's performance just now is already very illustrative. His strength is too strong. Even the fighting style is completely different from other team members. If Yi Zan targets them, it can be said that, except for Yelena, everyone else is almost not qualified to escape. What's even more frightening is that Yi Zan himself is a demon priest, and the professionals killed by him seem to be unable to be resurrected. But was given eternal death, because, at the moment before Caesar died, all the breath of life had been wiped out. If nothing else happens, this Western, noble, a veteran priest, should have left the Blue Star sequence forever and will never appear again. However, Yi Zan did not explode at this time. Under countless looks, he just nodded slightly. His expression seemed to be satisfied. Joanna frowned suddenly, and the other semi-divine level professionals were also confused. What's the meaning? At the same time, Yi Zan was indeed extremely satisfied. Gravity, this is the power of stars. Yi Zan took a deep breath and felt extremely comfortable. He had just exerted the gravity godhead on the emerald dragon, and with just one click, the emerald dragon was suppressed to the ground. Even if Yi Zan thinks about it, this arrogant and crazy dragon race god will be pulled deep underground by the strong gravity. Gravitational. It can also be regarded as a kind of gravity, or it is more exaggerated than gravity. Let's put it this way, even if a god is as powerful as Yi Zan, he will still be bound by the gravity of the stars. It's just that he can challenge the constraints of gravity. Can cross the stars and fly towards the starry sky. But Joanna and the others couldn't, at only half divine level. Even if one could fly tens of thousands of kilometers above the ground, it would still be difficult to escape the control of the will of the world. But now, with the gravity godhead and the space godhead, Yi Zan has been able to challenge the will constraints of low-level stars. According to Yi Zan's speculation, even in the abyss world, he can still go to the void. Only, if he wanted to be like the demon priest in the abyss, destroying 9 stars in one breath, Yi Zan still had a long way to go. For now, he can't do it. The version strength of the abyss world. In some aspects, it is more exaggerated than the Winter Dungeon world, which is more like a body integration. It's not something that Yi Zan can challenge now. Those high-level demons in the void, it's so powerful that it's beyond cognition. The harvest is good. Yi Zan raised his eyelids and smiled with satisfaction. The eternal golden ancient tree boss and the dual clergy Caesar, these two templates brought extremely powerful power to Yi Zan. This time we come to the winter dungeon, it's just the beginning, it's even still at the starting point. His gains have reached heights unimaginable by other professionals. There is no reason to be dissatisfied, Your Majesty the demon god. At the same time, Joanna couldn't hold it in any longer. She took a deep breath, walked slowly towards Yi Zan, and said tentatively in a not-so-standard Dragon Country language with respect for Wen. Can we move on? According to the notes on the dungeon map, the forbidden area where the Golden Smaug boss is located should be right ahead. Joanna felt a little uneasy at this time, her face turned a little pale, and the corners of her mouth were trembling when she spoke. Yi Zan himself was invited by her, and Joanna must be responsible for other professionals in the association. Facing Joanna's words, Yi Zan simply said. He used the language of the Eagle American Federation, a simple word, not. In an instant, the hearts of all the professionals in the room trembled, with panic written on their faces. Really, the great Shah demon god, as rumored, has an extremely cruel personality. I just killed the golden ancient tree boss and I haven't had time to feel happy, but now, the devil is about to take action against them too. Caesar's fate is their fate, damn it. Joanna, how could she even think of provoking such a being? How could the demon god who could destroy the Japanese world be a trustworthy partner? Yi Zan's strength and cruelty made the demigods in the Beast Masters Association feel despair for the first time. Countless lights shine in the team. There are already frightened semi-divine level professionals, ready to crush the tickets in their hands. I want to try to leave this copy world and return to Blue Star. If I don't run, I'm afraid it will be too late. And if the great Shah demon god really wanted to attack them, it shouldn't be too late to kill them all in one go, right? Everyone was feeling anxious, hoping that they could be the lucky one and escape from the claws of the devil. The judgment of death has not yet come, but everyone in the Holy See is despairing. No need to continue. At the same time, Yi Zan was still in the state of the 12-winged flame demon, and he turned his stiff head slightly. He looked at Joanna with that devilish face and said, "Keep moving forward and you will all be wiped out." Yi Zan's meaning was obvious. I had just arrived at the winter dungeon, and I was still at the starting point. A golden ancient tree boss almost wiped out the semi-divine level professionals in the team. No kidding. This is the strength of winter dungeon. Is the golden ancient tree boss very powerful? Indeed. After all, it can be regarded as a 20,000 level boss. After strengthening, its combat power has reached 8-star strength. For Blue Star, it is already an extremely crazy boss version, and it is completely different from Yamata no Orochi. But, think about it carefully, what level is the golden ancient tree boss? It's just a big tree at the starting point. A building like the Holy See, even a piece of marble, cannot be shattered or shaken by Joanna and the others using forbidden spells. It's a big tree. The association was almost wiped out. If you keep moving forward, aren't you courting death? Now that I have seen a big tree boss, what if there is a more terrifying god next? Is it possible to let Yi Zan take them? Crazy? Why should Yi Zan take them with him? The golden ancient tree boss is just a big tree in this world. As for those semi-divine level demons, they are just worms. Yi Zan looked at Joanna expressionlessly. Immediately, he set his sights on all the professionals and said in a calm tone, "Why do you think that the Golden Smaug and other dungeon bosses you will face next are weaker than the Golden Ancient Forest?" Yi Zan was just stating the facts. His words caused everyone to fall into silence. The sound of sucking and air conditioning came and went. Everyone, or rather the gods, were shocked. In the world of universal job transfer, their status and strength are indeed at the ceiling level. But, here, a second world at a higher latitude appears like a grain of sand. No right to speak. However, they also knew very well that Yi Zan was not joking. The strength and vision of this great Shah demon god are definitely far superior to all of them. The operation shown by Yi Zan just now has proved this. As soon as the terrifying four-dimensional attributes broke out, the style of the scene changed. Every movement is filled with the aura of the gods. Just holding a cross sword, he knocked the golden ancient tree to death. Yi Zan's judgment can never be wrong. It seems that there is something wrong with the information our association has obtained. The world of Winter Dungeon is still not something that the priests in Blue Star can challenge. Joanna was silent for a long time, sighed solemnly, and said in an extremely lonely voice. A big tree boss at the starting point, a completely inconspicuous existence in the dungeon, now has such crazy power. If we continue to move forward, overturned. Joanna sighed. Then he turned to look at the other members of the team, smiled bitterly and continued. Everyone, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Of course, leave this damn place as soon as possible. Oh my god, where did the association get this information from? It's so inaccurate. The mysterious Great Shah Demon God is right. Even if the golden ancient tree boss is so powerful, it is just a tree at the starting point in the dungeon world, and those semi-divine level demons have been destroyed. The abyss monsters who have lost my pet beast are just like bugs in this world. With such powerful world rules, why are we not bugs? If you continue to stay here, the final outcome is probably death. However, the Great Shah Demon God is so cruel. He even killed Caesar after just a disagreement. He just wanted some leaf materials that fell from the golden ancient tree. I don't want to stay with the demon god for a moment anymore. It's too scary. Got it. Facing the devil, I have the urge to die. I'm lucky to be able to leave. Thank God for the dawn. Confront Joanna's words. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Will not leave? Waiting to die? Chibachi? Since the Great Shah Demon God has not attacked them, it is already the dawn of God. At this moment, almost most professionals want to leave this anomaly world. They finally understood that the world of national job transfer may be just a drop in the ocean in the vast starry sky, no different from gravel. The second world of Winter Dungeon was far beyond their knowledge. The final dungeon boss, Golden Smaug, may be more powerful than they expected. The information provided by the association is wrong. It is better to return to Blue Star honestly. It is more comfortable to be a god at the top of the pyramid. The idea of escaping from the will of the world to challenge the boss in other worlds was killed by everyone at this moment. Okay, now that everyone has a plan, let's go back. Joanna smiled bitterly and helplessly, and finally sighed. Immediately, she looked away from everyone again and looked at Yi Zan aside. Joanna, who was not very tall, could only look up at Yi Zan in midair like an ordinary life without divinity, looking up at the gods. Honorable Great Shah Demon God, I'm sorry that our Beastmasters Association has not given you any help. We're ready to leave. Joanna looked slightly lonely. According to her original plan, if she opens the second world this time, the entire association will definitely get a lot of boss rewards. As for Yi Zan, he can also get good results. When the time comes, it will be a good thing to not only make friends with a mysterious Eastern demon god, but also allow the association to grow. But now, Joanna understood one thing. Neither she nor the demigods in these associations were as ants in front of Yi Zan. Not to mention bringing help. Continuing is just a burden. According to Yi Zan's temperament, he shouldn't protect them for no reason. Now, leaving is the best plan. Perhaps Yi Zan will also remember a little favor and will not end Joanna's life like he killed Caesar. Confront Joanna's words. Yi Zan just nodded lightly and didn't say much. It was not out of good intentions that he asked these semi-divine level professionals from the association to leave. On the one hand, Joanna and the others are indeed not qualified to challenge the Winter Dungeon world. Continue to move towards the depths of the dungeon, and the final outcome will be the group's destruction. Everyone will die. On the other hand, Yi Zan was ready to seize the final boss reward of this winter copy. In his estimation, the Golden Smaug boss should be much stronger than the Golden Ancient Tree. But even so, Yi Zan is now fully capable of dealing with it. Not only the Golden Smaug boss, but also the elf princess Elise who was imprisoned in the tower, the magisters, divine knights, and forbidden legions of the Saint Laurent Empire. There are many things Yi Zan wants to do. I want a lot of things. There was no way he was going to let other members of the Global Beastmasters Association take advantage of him. A copy of Winter. Yi Zan wants them all. As for harvesting the lives of all professionals in the association? It's not that Yi Zan can't, but it's not necessary. At this time, to the professionals in Blue Star, he was like the high-level demon god and Yi Zan in the abyss. The gap was too big. It's not like gods can't attack ants, but it has no value. It is meaningless to use forbidden spells or the power of Godhead to destroy all the priests present. Not to mention, it's worth more to keep them. Joanna and these priests have a high status in Blue Star. They are all powerful people at the top of the pyramid. After countless years of development, they have a lot of good things in their hands. Yi Zan is going to continue to trade with Joanna. After this winter copy is over, he will definitely get a lot of good things. When the time comes, you can naturally find Tuan for exchange. Yi Zan believes that there must be many good things like the Death Godhead in Joanna's hands or in the hands of other priests. After all, they can be regarded as the people behind the scenes of various countries in Blue Star. Will they have no inventory? Transaction is their value. As for directly killing these priests and then harvesting the resources in Blue Star? Too slow. When will it be harvested? What's more, God-level existences have more or less unknown methods. Even if Yi Zan wipes them all out, he can't be sure that all the things hidden by these priests can be found. Instead of spending time looking for it yourself, it's better to let these professionals in the Beastmaster Association become Yi Zan's tools in Blue Star's hands. And Joanna is the link between Yi Zan and Yi Zan. Great Shah Demon God. I can walk with you. I have an angel believer who can definitely help you a lot at critical moments. At this moment, Yelena walked towards Yi Zan. Her figure was extremely tall. The hot curves and the iceberg-like face are quite attractive to men. At this time, Yelena smiled faintly and said to Yi Zan again, "Don't worry, I don't want any of the boss rewards I got in the end. I just hope the devil can throw out some unnecessary items." Yelena changed from her usual coldness and arrogance, and her tone and posture became very low. She looked at Yi Zan politely and gently and smiled. There was a faint certainty in the depths of his eyes. She believed that Yi Zan would not reject her. He doesn't want the final boss reward, and his attitude is correct. This great Shah demon god should be able to accept it, right? Not to mention, in Yelena's opinion, Yi Zan did not take action to harvest the lives of all professionals in the association, but was already sending a signal. That is, Yi Zan is also afraid. Perhaps, this great Shah demon god is afraid of the old god behind the Yingmei Federation. As for the dead Caesar, it is very possible that there was some conflict with Yi Zan before? Or, Yi Zan took a fancy to Caesar's Emerald Dragon demon. After all, the Emerald Dragon was not very loyal to Caesar, and he had already shown his attitude during the battle. Yi Zan probably wanted the apostle to tame the dragon 5.8. As for Yelena's angel believers, that's completely different. If Yelena dies, the angel believers will also die. The relationship between them is too deep-rooted. Yi Zan has no way to dominate the angel believers. Certainly, the most important point is that the old gods standing behind Caesar are just a family. And standing behind Yelena were all the gods of Tsarist Russia. Elena is Peter X descendants of the Tsarist Russian Pope. Behind her is a country. There is only family behind Caesar. Yelena felt that Yi Zan was certain. She believed that this great Shah demon could not be crazy enough to go against the gods behind all the countries in the world. What kind of terrifying existence is that? A Caesar family, a Japanese world. Compared with all the old gods in the world, they are not worth mentioning. Great demon god will not be so rash, however. Under Yelena's gaze, Yi Zan took action again. What qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? Yi Zan is leaving. His voice was low and full of unquestionable majesty. Immediately, the huge body of the Balrog flashed past, and when it reappeared the next moment, the Balrog had already trampled Yelena under its feet. That's right. In an instant, this cleric who was second only to Caesar and considered the best apex-level dignitary in the entire Blue Star was stepped on by Yi Zan. Yelena's beautiful face and graceful body curves were a little distorted at this time. The broken marble blocks dented crazily downwards. Under the control of the divine power, Yelena could not move her whole body. And her expression was even more exciting, confused, shocking, and with a hint of anger. You and the golden ancient tree are just insects. Yi Zan's voice sounded again, low and magical. At this time, in the eyes of all the professionals present, he was no longer a being in the same dimension as them. More like a high-level god in the void. He holds the power of life and death. The sun, Yi Zan said lightly, his pupils began to bloom with flourishing patterns. That is the power of the Godhead 25 gathering momentum. With a bang, Just when Yi Zan was about to kill Yelena, the angel on the side suddenly stood up. Set off by the gorgeous gold jewelry, Yelena's angel believer looks even more holy. Even a mixed race, but he still carries the nobility and power of his angel bloodline. Yi Zan looked slightly sideways, but still didn't stop. The terrifying magical elements were pressing towards the angel believers like stars. In an instant, the angel hybrid was like Yelena. He was pinned to the marble floor, motionless, and not even qualified to struggle. Yi Zan took advantage of the situation and stepped on it again. Help, he proved a point with his strength. Yelena couldn't give him any help. Only to be manipulated. Walking with the gods is not that simple. The sun godhead has exploded, and Yi Zan prepares to harvest Yelena's life in front of everyone's shocked eyes. He asked the semi-priests in the association to return to Blue Star, not because he was afraid of the sun gods behind these so-called priests. Those gods who can't even return to Blue Star, what the hell? Yi Zan was just weighing the value. As long as he wants, the entire Blue Star and the entire world of universal job transfer can be destroyed. He is the only heretic in the world, and Yelena. Yi Zan had no intention of letting her go from the beginning. Yelena herself has angel believers, plus 3 godheads and a 3-star combat power. Yi Zan let go of such a fat insect for nothing? Impossible. From the beginning, Yelena was appointed. Like Caesar, they are Yi Zan's goals, alive. However, the moment Yi Zan was about to make his move, Aaliyah behind him tilted her head slightly and spoke lightly in an extremely jerky devil language. Alive? Yi Zan was stunned and turned to look at the demon priest. According to Promi, priestly profession, the gold content in the abyss world is very high. Even those high-level demon gods in the void, the 72 title-level demon gods, will still listen patiently to the warnings of the priest demons. The innate divinity of priests allows them to penetrate into the essence of things, assisting the devil to enter a higher level. Therefore, as Aaliyah's voice sounded, Yi Zan gradually removed the power of rules from his hands. Yelena took a deep breath of cold air. The threat of death left her. But she still felt like she was being locked by a beast, her whole body was shaking, and her back was soaked. They are very useful. Aaliyah walked towards Yelena, glanced at Yelena who was extremely embarrassed, and then at the half-blood angel. The sanity of angel believers is somewhat similar to Arya's. It also seems to be damaged. Under the holy face, the pair of pale golden eyes shone with a little confusion, tilting his head slightly to look at Aaliyah. Stay, they'll be useful. Aaliyah carefully checked Yelena and the angel believers, then turned her head and looked up at Yi Zan and said. Emphasized twice. Yi Zan nodded. Angels and demons themselves are 2 camps that cannot coexist. Since Aaliyah has doubts, she wants to keep the angel believers. So, naturally, in the abyss world, Yi Zan can be promoted to a higher level. Perhaps. The power of angels is stimulated to the extreme. Can they restrain the demon priest? Will the 72 demon priests be afraid? Chips? Yi Zan thought to himself in his heart, and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. In fact, his original plan was to completely destroy Yelena and Angel, thereby plundering their priesthood templates. However, Aaliyah seems to have other purposes for Yelena and the angel believers. At this point, Yi Zan didn't think too much, he just let Aaliyah do it. Then tame it. Yi Zan spoke calmly. Death cannot be given. There is only domestication. Let Yelena and her 2 daughters serve Yi Zan as the monarch. Just like the words are spoken, Yi Zan just waved his hand, and the 2 girls, Yelena and Lina, suddenly trembled and were marked as believers. Became Yi Zan's subordinate priesthood. Or, to put it more bluntly, he became Yi Zan's slave. Ding! Congratulations, you have successfully conquered Yelena, the god of war, as a believer, and received a reward. Spiritual attribute points plus 100,000 points up pointing arrow. Ding! Congratulations, you have successfully conquered the holy hybrid Sophie, as a believer, and received the reward. Forbidden spell damage plus 5% up pointing arrow. After conquering Yelena and the angel Sophie, a cold reminder sounded in Yi Zan's mind. The effect of the conquest this time was pretty good. Yelena brought Yi Zan 100,000 points of spiritual attribute improvement, while the angel hybrid named Sophie brought 5% forbidden spell damage. Don't look at the improvement of only 5% points. This is a percentage increase. Yi Zan now uses the 147 elemental forbidden spells, especially the light sequence and thunder and lightning sequence elemental forbidden spells. How powerful is the damage caused? Even he himself doesn't know it clearly, after all. With the blessing of the Godhead, these two elemental forbidden spells themselves have been amplified countless times. If we say, increase the damage by another 5%, Yi Zan estimated that even a god with a health bar as long as the golden ancient tree boss would be frightened and terrified. Kr. At this moment, Yelena, who was forcibly taken as a slave by Yi Zan, was blushing all over, and an indescribable anger spread in her heart. She is Peter X. She is the most noble and holy successor to the queen in the entire Tsarist Russia. If the myriad races battlefield ends and the ancient gods of Tsarist Russia return to Blue Star, Yelena will be fully qualified to be promoted to monarch. The countless old gods who commanded Tsarist Russia. The divine monarch. And now, Yelena, who had such a noble status, became Yi Zan's slave. It is no exaggeration to say that Yelena's throne has now been cancelled. Which country would be willing to hand over the position of monarch to a believer? What's more, Yi Zan doesn't belong to Tsarist Russia yet. Only, before Yelena had time to burst into anger, her eyes suddenly flickered, and she was shocked again. Because Yelena discovered that her four-dimensional attributes were improving at an extremely exaggerated speed. In the blink of an eye, it reached a level that even frightened Yelena. Yelena was shocked. She had no idea that after being domesticated as a slave by Yi Zan, she would receive benefits beyond her imagination. That's right. Yi Zan's attribute sharing effect also appeared on Yelena, even though she only obtained 5% of the attribute points of the lowest level. However, it is still an extremely terrifying value. Put it this way, now Yi Zan, if you only look at the four-dimensional attribute points, he is probably already several times that of the golden ancient tree boss. No, to be more precise, it should be about 10 times. In addition to the fact that the health value has not reached this level, the strength, physique, spirit, and agility are already 10 times that of the golden ancient tree boss. This is normal. The demons in the abyss world themselves have attribute points beyond the blue star dimension. Yi Zan harvested the vast demon race, how could he not be promoted? And now, Yelena only shared a little bit of the fourth dimension, and she completely crossed the class. She could clearly feel that the power she controlled had increased much more than before. If Yelena is given another chance, this time, she is confident enough to challenge the golden ancient tree boss. The anger that had been accumulated in her heart suddenly disappeared, and Yelena's expression changed from anger to shock. And, with a hint of surprise, become a slave, it doesn't seem like a bad thing? What kind of existence is he? Yelena's plump body couldn't help but tremble slightly, and she looked at Yi Zan with complicated eyes. It can be said that after becoming Yi Zan's believer, she truly felt the terror of this great Sha demon god. Just being shrouded in his monarch's halo, there was such a powerful improvement. This is undoubtedly the same as God in mythical legend. No, in a world with the intensity of Blue Star, even if God were born, the level would only be this. Yi Zan may be more mysterious and terrifying than the priesthood of God. At the same time, after Yi Zan tamed Yelena into a slave in front of everyone, all the professionals present felt numb. I was completely stunned. There were even some semi-priests who shakily stepped back, their legs already weakening. Kill the golden ancient tree boss. The apex-level priesthood that killed the Caesar family. What now? Even Peter X of Tsarist Russia, Yelena, the only one who could inherit the papal throne, was harvested. Will it be their turn next? By this time, everyone became clearer. Yi Zan doesn't care at all about the so-called gods behind the world of national job transfer. Even the old gods behind the scenes of a powerful country like Tsarist Russia could not make Yi Zan feel a little afraid. So what if she is the queen, tamed directly for you? Become a slave, it's terrible. Literally, my kneecaps are shaking. Not to mention the priesthood that killed the Caesar family, Peter I of Tsarist Russia was also domesticated into a nuken. Oh my god! Is this the great Sha demon god? It's completely unreasonable and it's impossible to guess what he's thinking. Shish, be careful and leave quickly. Letting you survive is already a kindness. Mercy? What are you talking about? How can a monarch be merciful? In the eyes of the great Sha demon god, We are just bugs. He is not even willing to use a trace of power to erase us. Hey, have you reached this level, insect? How ironic, we are considered the best among blue stars, but now, we are abandoned. It's time to be thankful and wake up. You can survive, but you are much luckier than Caesar and Yelena. Yi Zan once again crushed everyone's worldview. They muttered in a low voice, then hurriedly crushed the admission tickets in their hands and fled from this terrifying holy sea. Winter copy. Golden Smaug. What a joke. For these semi-priests, today's dungeon is like hell. If you stay any longer, they will go crazy, not to mention. Yi Zan's current image in everyone's minds has become a complete devil. It's even more terrifying than a boss like Golden Smaug. They wish they would never come into contact with such a great Shah demon god again. Soon, all the professionals on site left. Including their pet beasts, they all disappeared into the ancient holy sea. Yi Zan turned back expressionlessly and glanced at the departing demi-priest lightly. In addition to Yelena, there are some gods. Indeed, he also gained godhood. Only, the divinity of those priests is too weak. It's not just a lack of intensity. Most of them are only half-star or one-star godhead. More importantly, their godhood. Yi Zan was not interested. For example, a priest from Australia has a half-star cowardly godhead. According to Yi Zan's guess, this kind of godhead should be used to save lives. Perhaps when encountering danger, the power of rules generated by the godhead can allow professionals to temporarily save their lives. Likewise, there is a price to pay. Even if Yi Zan doesn't know exactly what this godhead does, he can tell from the name. Cowardly godhead. How good can it be? It's useless to plunder them. Therefore, Yi Zan allowed these professionals to leave. It's not that he's merciful, but he was too lazy to use his power. Weak bugs. Brings little value. Instead, TRA. Cowardly? Is he also worthy of a demonic position like Yi Zan? The noble great Shah demon god, I will leave first. Before leaving, Joanna took a deep look at Yi Zan. Her tone was not as if she was facing a partner, but as if she was serving a monarch. She was indeed frightened. In fact, because of Anna, she didn't dare to speculate on Yi Zan's thoughts. He can only express his intentions in a very low manner. Leave. He won't compete for even a little bit of Yi Zan's boss reward. Facing Joanna's words, Yi Zan only nodded to Li, as if he was agreeing to Joanna's departure and also to her survival. If I don't kill you, I will give you the greatest hope. In a sense, why is Yi Zan not a god? How ironic. Soon, the holy sea became extremely empty. All the professionals from Blue Star have disappeared, only one beast master is still missing. Audrey, the priesthood sequence of the undead summoner. Why don't you leave? Yi Zan turned to look at Audrey, raised his eyes, and asked. The great demon king. Audrey looked at Yi Zan. My whole body couldn't help but tremble a little. Not fear. There was a little excitement in the depths of her pupils. Audrey swallowed her saliva, slowly leaned down, and knelt in front of Yi Zan. She said in an extremely admiring tone. Please allow me to surrender to you. Audrey's active surrender made Yi Zan stunned. Reason. Yi Zan looked at Audrey and said in a cold tone. No more nonsense, like the interrogation of a monarch. Your Majesty, the great demon temple, please allow me to surrender. Audrey looked up at Yi Zan excitedly, her whole body trembling slightly. She swallowed and said with a trembling voice. I have never seen such a powerful priest. Your power has exceeded the entire Blue Star dimension. Please allow me to be your missionary. Gods need faith. Although, I am just an ordinary summoner of the undead. But, I'm just as valuable, great demon god, please rest assured, I, Audrey, will never betray. Audrey's voice sounded word by word. Yi Zan frowned. The reason is quite good. But, Yi Zan glanced at Audrey, but saw a clue deep in the foreign girl's eyes. Mu Chang. Women are particularly fond of being strong, and Audrey has some little quirks. Perhaps it was because the strength displayed by Yi Zan was too brutal. Domineering style of doing things. Plus the thunderous 380 means. Audrey was completely impressed. Secondly, the god behind this cleric in the undead summoner sequence is not very powerful. She is different from a noble like Yelena. The family behind Audrey can only be said to have veteran clergy. Perhaps the strongest among her ancestors is not as good as today's Yi Zan. In other words, Audrey is looking for a monarch and a backer for herself. Yi Zan became the best candidate. At the same time, Yi Zan is also weighing Audrey's value. The undead summoner sequence is indeed relatively rare. What's more, the admiration deep in Audrey's eyes was not fake. No one can hide Yi Zan's gaze. He himself is the scrutiny of the gods. In addition to having good professional qualifications, Audrey's other assets are also very good. The delicate and mixed-race face, even without makeup, is still beautiful, and it is not far behind NPCs like Aaliyah. As for the body shape, it was slim where it should be thin, and extremely tall and straight where it should be round. Yi Zan really admired it. Good. I give you this opportunity. Yi Zan was silent for a while, and said in a low voice. Don't have the slightest idea of betraying me, otherwise. Death is just a kind of luck, and more terrifying despair will torture you forever. The world of the abyss will become your prison all day long. Yi Zan seemed to be stating some kind of fact, not a threat. Audrey was startled, and her delicate body could not help shaking. Then she hurriedly bowed to Yi Zan, with surprise written all over her face. Ding! Congratulations, you have successfully conquered the goddess Audrey as a believer and received the reward. Agility attribute points plus 300,000 points up pointing arrow. A cold reminder sounded. With Audrey's completely open mind, Yi Zan easily accepted her as a disciple. Only, what shocked Yi Zan was, Audrey actually brought him 300,000 points of agility attributes. A bit exaggerated. Even Aaliyah only brought 300,000 spiritual attribute blessings at first. I didn't expect that just a very ordinary god of control could bring so many attribute improvements. It wasn't just Yi Zan who got incredible rewards. After Audrey became a believer, she also shared 35% of Yi Zan's 4-dimensional attribute points. Is it because of faith? Yi Zan half squinted his eyes and took a deep look at Audrey, feeling a slight wave of emotion in his heart. In the end, the 4-dimensional attributes shared by stray pets like Wawa are only about 35%. Audrey suddenly became Yi Zan's disciple who shared the most. Oh my god, is this the power given to me by the Demon Lord? At the same time, Audrey was also shocked. She covered her mouth slightly, her eyes were full of ecstasy, and she secretly exclaimed in a voice that only she could hear. The aura of the great Shah demon god is so crazy. Sure enough, my vision has always been accurate. Audrey was secretly glad, just as Yi Zan guessed. Audrey is indeed very strong. Even, she has some unknown little secrets, or hobbies. Audrey had some disdain for ordinary men, even powerful priests like Caesar. She has the capital to be proud. How can a being who is standing at the top of the world not be arrogant? But, if she saw someone so powerful that she would be suffocated, Audrey would not feel a trace of arrogance and would not even think about challenging that person. But, surrender, even if it becomes a pet, she will be very happy. She is just a woman who is willing to become an accessory to a male god. What's wrong with that? Everyone has their own choice. It can be said that Audrey's character is completely different from Yelena, but she is among them. Audrey even hoped that Yi Zan would be more domineering to her. Grab her by the neck. Control her fate. Even if I face the golden ancient tree boss again, I can challenge it alone. Finally, Audrey took a deep breath, her eyes were filled with twinkling stars, and she was extremely shocked, Earthshaker murmured. With the blessing of Yi Zan's terrifying attribute points, Audrey at this time felt that she was terrifyingly strong. Even if she sees a boss that looks like an ancient golden tree again, she won't be afraid at all. And the decision she made, undoubtedly correct. The family behind Audrey is mediocre in itself, but not as large as Yelena and Caesar. Her family, except for the 2 veteran priests, there are no other forces. But now it's different. Audrey has a delusion. Perhaps, after the myriad races are over, she will be able to dominate the entire Eagle Federation by virtue of her identity as the slave of the great Shah demon god. Become the supreme female monarch, the other side. Yi Zan looked at Audrey and then withdrew his gaze. Yelena. Angel Sophie. Audrey, the summoner of the undead. Yi Zan's harvest this time has been great, and he has gathered 3 clergy believers at once. Certainly, there is also an emerald dragon. Yi Zan turned his head and looked at the 2-headed dragon abandoned in the corner. At this moment, the emerald dragon was so frightened by Yi Zan's godhead that his heart was about to be shattered. It was just crawling with its head hanging down. A corner of the Holy See did not dare to move at all. So what if it was created by gods from high latitudes? The divine aura released by Yi Zan, as well as the terrifying methods, had left the Emerald Dragon with no thought of confrontation. 58. The fallen angel's cross sword trembled at high frequency again. Yi Zan held the cross sword and came to the side of the Emerald Dragon, overlooking the anomaly monster from a high position. He was ready to slay the evil dragon, looting the two-headed Emerald Dragon's godhead. Foe! Suddenly, the giant Emerald Dragon raised its head with thunder and lightning raised tentatively, and said awkwardly in the devil's language. Don't end my life. I can lead you to find the Demon King's treasure. Tell me, I'll give you a chance to impress me. Otherwise, I will throw you into the abyss world and be eaten clean by a lot of crazy demons. Facing the Emerald Dragon, Yi Zan was just stunned for a moment and then returned to his normal expression. He raised his chin and stared at the head of the Emerald Dragon that was shining with lightning magic elements, trying to see a clue from the dragon's eyes. Have to say, Yi Zan was indeed a little moved. The Demon King of the Abyss world cannot match the power of the 72 demons and gods. Title level demon. That is to say, the 72 demon priests themselves are the most powerful existences in the Abyss world and even in the entire Abyss void. But those demon kings, the 7 demon kings in charge of the 7 original sins, are even more powerful. Above the demonic priesthood, he is like an invincible existence. That is true divine power, the power of the divine king. If you can find the treasure of one of the 7 great demon kings, no matter what is in the treasure, Yi Zan believes that he will naturally get unexpected benefits. This is much more exaggerated than an angel believer. I originally came from an ancient planet. The star has been extinguished, and I, as a dragon on the planet, am about to die. The giant Emerald Dragon swallowed, raised his head, his eyes flickered, and continued to speak in devilish language. When my life is about to come to an end, the overlord of the Abyss world, the Demon King in charge of gluttony, or the Demon King appears. The Gluttony Demon King used the rules of his godhead to tamper with my life. The Emerald Dragon paused. It seems to be organizing language. Tampering with life? Yi Zan was also a little confused. He fought against the original world will of my home planet, and gave me a new life. Unfortunately, it seems that he noticed something was wrong with my god sequence. The gluttonous Demon King abandoned me in the endless void. Crew's life is draining away, and I am facing death again, eternal death. Finally, I was pulled into a small world by the world will of the planet where Caesar is. The blue star. Later, Caesar appeared, and he signed some kind of soul contract with me, allowing me to leave that small world. The Emerald Dragon briefly explained the ins and outs of the matter. Yi Zan frowned. He was now sure of 2 things. First thing, the 7-headed Demon King, the Demon King above the demon priesthood, seems to have the power to tamper with the order of life. It sounds a little weird. No matter how you look at it, it is somewhat similar to the ability possessed by Yi Zan. Not long ago, he also changed the lives of Zhang Tian and Su Mei and gave them a new boss template. Is this also a means to fight against the will of the world? Secondly, the Emerald Dragon named Crew's final destination was actually dragged to the Roman dungeon by Blue Star's world will. In other words, the world is good too. It's good to be civilized. There seems to be some kind of will. Is it like a professional possessing godhead? Yi Zan closed his eyes slightly and fell into deep thought. If that's the case, you're in trouble. Is it possible that the natural disaster of the undead that Xu Yuwei talks about is also a confrontation of the will of the world? The world will of a higher dimension is cleaning low-level civilization. Just like a big insect eating a small insect. Look at it this way. It is no longer a simple game of life, but dimensions and civilization. It is a game of world will. Such a large-scale purge made Yi Zan feel a sense of urgency. Very strange feeling. It's like being watched by something all the time. Being targeted. So, do you know the location of the Gluttony Demon King? Yi Zan frowned and continued to ask. Crew shook his head. Not sure. Yi Zan did not respond and continued to look at the Emerald Dragon, waiting for it to continue to tell the secret. If this was the case, Yi Zan had no reason to keep the Emerald Dragon. So what if we know the situation of the gluttonous Demon King? Yi Zan is indeed very strong now, but he is not confident enough to challenge any of the 7 great demon kings. Therefore, the Emerald Dragon must know some more valuable information. I discovered a huge secret when I was given a new life by the gluttonous Demon King. Or rather, when my life was tampered with by him. Crew swallowed, a hint of human emotion flashing in his 2 heads. A little scared. With anxiety again. I discovered the remains of the previous generation of Demon Lord Gluttony. There are treasures left by the previous generation of Demon Lord. So many divine fruits, countless star cores. Even countless forbidden curses of this god class. And divine weapon, and an imprisoned seraph. Kelu said awkwardly in devil language. Yi Zan's eyelids twitched suddenly. Damn it. Sure enough, it is of some value. The legacy of the previous generation of Gluttony Demon King? This is richer than the treasures owned by the current Demon King. What's more, if Yi Zan is more careful, he has a chance to plunder the dead Demon King's legacy. He really couldn't defeat the 7 great Demon Kings. But just searching for things shouldn't be dangerous, right? Godhead. Star Core. God-level forbidden spell. And an imprisoned seraph boss. Yi Zan would definitely go to a place like this. Too fat. Then what? Yi Zan didn't show any too many emotions. He still looked at Kelu with cold eyes and said lightly. If I kill you, I won't be able to find the Demon King's legacy? Are you threatening me? Both of Crew's heads trembled. No, it hurriedly explained in devil's language. I'm just asking the noble Demon King. What's more, Crew also has strong growth potential. Although this generation of gluttonous demons abandoned me. But, he made a mistake in judgment. I am not a failed piece of work. In a sense, the Gluttony Demon King succeeded. Crew was considering the language and used a very strange word. Work? Yi Zan nodded and waited for it to continue explaining. It can be seen from Crew's attribute annotation that this Emerald Dragon does seem to be a work and an experiment. Perhaps, the original idea of the gluttonous Demon King was to cultivate an anomaly species. Evil god, or whatever. After all, there are too many deformed species in the abyss world. Not only those fused undead creatures but also some anomaly creatures. I have growth potential that far exceeds that of a 2-star god. My head, which controls the thunder and lightning godhead, is the best proof. Crew raised his head that was flashing with lightning, and with a touch of pride, he continued to explain. As long as I am given a certain amount of growth time, I can grow a 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th head, and I can control a brand new godhead. No. It may also be 2, 3 types, 4 types of godhead. Crew's words. This caused quite a stir in Yi Zan's heart. It was indeed a bit moving. Can a head keep growing? Can you still control a brand new godhead? This strange creature does have some growth potential. Originally, even Yi Zan thought that the Demon King of Gluttony had bent the tree of life. However, looking at it this way, Crew's experiment seems to have been a success. It's just that the path taken is very biased. A bit like a counter-evil god? Cthulhu monster. Of course, in addition to being moved, Yi Zan is also thinking about one thing, that is, if he subdues Crew and becomes an NPC believer at this time, what will happen next, after the 2nd head grows? Can Crew's will dominate the body? Yi Zan didn't want to leave any hidden dangers. If we say, Crew's 2nd head has a new will, he even took control of his body. Will it become a time bomb, threatening Yi Zan's safety at any time? Even now, Crew is still very weak. But if it is really a Cthulhu-based boss, anything can happen. Yi Zan needs followers, disciples are needed. We don't need traitors like evil gods. Can you guarantee that you will always have control over your body? Yi Zan half squinted his eyes and asked directly what he was thinking. Under his scrutiny, Crew nodded and spoke again. Certainly, facing Yi Zan's question, Crew nodded hurriedly and raised his head that shone with thunder and lightning with great confidence. He said firmly, Demon Lord, you can rest assured on this. I can definitely control the entire body forever. Crew shook his head. After hitting another head, the dragon head with rose-colored pupils shrank its neck suddenly, as if it was afraid of this thunderhead. Crew raised his head, looked at Yi Zan again, and said in an almost pleading voice. You have seen, great Demon King, that the 3 divine powers I possess can give me the confidence to occupy this body. Yi Zan didn't answer Crew's words, but just narrowed his eyes slightly. 3 godheads. greed, devouring, thunder and lightning. All belong to this 7 lords, head with golden pupils and in charge of thunder and lightning. However, according to what Crew said just now, his godhood was only born after being tampered with by the gluttonous divine king. In other words, the original will of the Emerald Dragon has been reduced to the second echelon. The second newly grown head took over the body. This is why Crew is so confident. The gluttonous demon divine king did not crook the tree of life. On the contrary, he succeeded. Crew is a mature piece of work. The newly grown second head not only gained 3 divine powers, but also occupied the original Emerald Dragon body. In fact, it also has extremely strong confidence that it will not be defeated by the 3rd or 4th head that grows again in the future. It does have good potential and is worth cultivating. Seeing this scene, Yi Zan nodded slightly and muttered silently in his heart. For this anomaly monster, is it possible to grow into a guy who can defeat the evil god? Yi Zan was indeed somewhat interested. If you stay, he has nothing to lose. On the contrary, in the future it is possible to cultivate a heretic that is beyond the recognition of the world. Maybe it can bring benefits beyond expectations for Yi Zan. A powerful evil god. Nowadays, Crew only has 2 heads, but has 3 godheads. What if a 3rd and 4th one grows again? When the 9-headed Crew is born, how much power of godhead will it control, and how powerful a destructive effect it can unleash? Yi Zan doesn't know, but he had some expectations. Secondly, if Yi Zan eliminates Crew, he will also get generous rewards, a god-level template of an anomaly monster, several good godhead powers, and forbidden spells about thunder and lightning. Keep it, it's not impossible to be a guard dog. Finally, Yi Zan glanced at Kelu, recognized the head filled with thunder and lightning magic elements, and smiled lightly. King of thunder and lightning, Cthulhu is the evil god. Regarding an evil god that might grow into a heretic, Yi Zan did not plan to focus on cultivating it, but regarded it as a janitor. If in the future, Yi Zan plans to build his own kingdom in the Abyss world, or conquer countless demon believers, he really needs a guard dog. Even if the natural disaster of the undead really comes, Yi Zan also needs someone to protect his home planet. Crew is perfect for this role. As for betrayal, Yi Zan is really not worried about this. Even in the end, the Thunderhead really lost control of his body, and Yi Zan could completely kill it. Moreover, every time the Emerald Dragon grows a new head, Yi Zan can also use the power of the rules of the demon priesthood again to tame the Emerald Dragon again. There is no case of betrayal. As for the Divine King's treasure, Yi Zan plans to take a look at it after the winter dungeon is over. After all, the Abyss world is a great world with extremely strong civilization. In Yi Zan's plan, this will be his future home field. If he wants to deal with the undead natural disaster, Yi Xuanxian can't think of any better choice at the moment besides the vast demon army in the Abyss world. He is bound to get the treasure of the Divine King. Elia. Yi Zan looked back at the demon priest and said calmly, "Tame it, and if it doesn't obey, erase its life." Elia's confused eyes flickered, and a moment later she flew towards the Emerald Dragon. Yi Zan had no intention of letting the Emerald Dragon become his disciple. After all, his followers can have an increase beyond imagination and can obtain a massive amount of attribute points to share. If Elia were allowed to tame Crew, Crew gained nothing. When you lead me to find the treasure of the previous generation of gluttonous Demon King, I will give you a new life. Yi Zan glanced at Kelu expressionlessly. "Thank you, Demon Lord." Crew nodded. The loneliness in the depths of his eyes flashed past, and there was a little expectation and surprise. As a god-level monster whose life had been tampered with by the gluttonous Demon King, Crew's intelligence is no less than that of an adult human. Even, its thinking is more active in some aspects. The reactions of Yelena and Audrey were all seen by Crew, who knew very well that surrendering to Empress Yi Zan would bring benefits beyond imagination. Even if it doesn't know what the final effect of the monarch's halo is. But Audrey's excited expression spoke volumes. It is estimated that this directly promoted Audrey, the undead summoner, to a large level. Pity. Yi Zan did not tame Crew himself, but asked Elia behind him to do it. For this, Crew was indeed a little regretful. Miscalculated. Don't have any evil intentions. Yi Zan turned his head and looked at Kelu again, with a strong hint of threat in his tone. You know what I mean. Devil's language is raw and full of magic. Like a forbidden curse, it sounded in Yi Zan's mouth. Kru's entire huge body couldn't help but trembled. What Yi Zan said was by no means a threat, but a fact. Impossible. Lu lowered his head and looked up at Yi Zan in a flattering manner. He even had a human expression, as if he was laughing flatteringly. Please rest assured, Demon Lord. I, Kru, must be the most honest and loyal dog. I don't know where Kelu learned these demonic words. Yi Zan couldn't help his eyelids twitching when he heard it and smiled. Immediately, Aaliyah quickly tamed Kru, a boss who had reached the god level, or a high-dimensional being from the void, and once again became a follower of Yi Zan. A believer. Slaves of slaves. Gone. Yi Zan looked at the women present, including Yelena, Audrey, Angel Sophie, and his true first NPC believer Aaliyah. He said calmly, "It's time to go to the forbidden area of Golden Smaug boss." Ding, congratulations, you have gained 5 billion experience points. Ding, congratulations, you have gained 6.2 billion experience points. Ding, congratulations, you have obtained the boss exclusive item. Profanity Dagger, legendary level +7. The cold notification sound sounded like bamboo shoots after rain. Yi Zan half squinted his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly, feeling extremely comfortable. After conquering Yelena and other priests, Yi Zan took the girls to the depths of the Golden Smaug Forbidden Land. With the blessing of Godhead, Yi Zan easily pushed across the entire map. There is almost no boss that can stop him. At the same time, Yi Zan gained quite a lot, not only countless experience points, but also some extremely precious boss-exclusive materials. Certainly, what surprised Yi Zan the most was a legendary +7 exclusive weapon. This is even rarer than the life armor dropped by the Golden Ancient Tree. It is no exaggeration to say that weapons of this level are almost completely rare in Blue Star. Even those veteran priests, old gods, etc. who have gone to the myriad races battlefield may not necessarily have exclusive weapons of such excellent quality. The experience pool is full. Yi Xuanwei took a deep breath and smiled comfortably. The experience pool is full. This means that if Yi Zan does not use experience points anymore, he will not be able to obtain experience points no matter how many dungeon bosses he kills. Throw it to Aaliyah? After a moment of silence, Yi Zan thought to himself. He will be affected by the will of Blue Star World. Even if he can use experience points now, he can only be promoted to 200 level 0 at most. If he wants to break the level limit, he can only complete the God Trial first. But the Trial of Gods was established in the Imperial capital. It can only be completed by returning to Blue Star. Moreover, level is of little significance to the current Yi Zan. He is only a 1000 level person, but he can easily control Yelena and other 10,000 level priests, and even crush them. There is no need to blindly upgrade the level, unless upgrading can bring unexpected surprises. It seems that in the NPC Empire, Saint Laurent, there is also a God Trial Tower about the promotion of priests. If I can go to that mysterious NPC country, maybe my God Trial will become the same. Yi Zan thought secretly in his heart, somewhat expected. The elf princess imprisoned in the forbidden area of the Golden Smaug boss is definitely an extremely important NPC character. If you can have some interaction with that princess, you might be able to go to the NPC country. Of course, the premise is to defeat the god-level baby dragon first. Desecrated Dagger. Yi Zan raised his eyes and raised a dark purple dagger in his hand. This dagger, named Profane, looked very ordinary and did not have the cool appearance of a legendary level weapon. Even the broken fallen angel cross sword is much more exquisite and simple than the iron-handled dagger. But, do not underestimate the power of this dagger. Just one attribute entry is enough to shock priests like Yelena. It can increase the mental attribute by 4.7 million points. I'm afraid if I say it, the professionals in Blue Star will be scared to death. Yi Zan looked at the attribute entry of the dagger and smiled lightly. That's right. One entry in the blasphemous dagger can increase spiritual attributes by 4.7 million points. What is the concept? The most powerful shepherd in the Great Shalong Kingdom. That fat-headed, beautiful girl, who is a bit socially intimidated, she doesn't even have 4 million mental attribute points. What if Bai Shen and Shen Choewi knew that Yi Zan was holding such a divine weapon? Estimate. Not only will they be shocked, they will be stunned on the spot. Profanity. Yi Zan raised his arm and waved it forward. The next moment, an extremely bright storm swept through. That's right. Brilliant. Storm. Gorgeous and splendid light flickered and jumped in the storm, and the terrifying magical elements were as rich as the ocean waves, lapping towards the dungeon map ahead layer by layer. Immediately afterwards, in Yi Zan's field of vision, a large number of dungeon bosses died. As if being judged by the gods, there was no sound at all, and it exploded into a transdermal module on the spot. You know, these are bosses that are several thousand levels in size. The lowest ones have more than 4,000 levels, but now, they were wiped out on the spot by Yi Zan's mediocre magic skills? Hiss. For a moment, Yelena, Audrey and other women behind Yi Zan were all dumbfounded. Even the angel Sophie, although like Aaliyah, had confused eyes and her mind seemed to be damaged, she still widened her shocking pupils and looked closely at Yi Zan's back. Well enough. Experience points and countless boss templates all poured into Yi Zan, but faced with such an exaggerated harvest, he just raised his eyebrows, smiled faintly, and commented in his heart, looking at it now, it should be the most powerful weapon. The life armor exploded by the golden ancient tree boss is only defensive equipment after all. It is completely incomparable to the profanity dagger. Not to mention, the quality is not as good as blasphemy. As for the divine weapon fallen angel cross sword, it is just a damaged divine weapon. The maximum power it can exert now is more than half weaker than the profane dagger. This dark purple dagger is indeed the most powerful weapon in Yi Zan's hand. However, it cannot be called the strongest trump card. Because today's Yi Zan, even if he doesn't use any weapons, forbidden spells or skills, just using the power of his godhead, with the extremely terrifying 4-dimensional attribute point bonus, he can kill him instantly with just a raise of his hand. Most of the dungeon bosses. Even a god-level boss? Same thing. Under Yi Zan's godhead. All beings are equal. It's time to use the death godhead. After clearing away countless bosses in front of him, Yi Zan found an open space and sat down, taking out a jelly-like seed from the item column. 240 is the death godhead seed exchanged from Joanna. 0135030025 Filu 210,432,360. Death Godhead Seed. It is very violent in itself and symbolizes the power of death. It is extremely dangerous for ordinary priests to absorb and fuse it. Not to mention, this Godhead Seed is still in a damaged state. Absorbing a damaged Godhead, the probability of problems is too high. If professionals like Han Mu were to absorb it, the success rate is probably not even 10%. What about Caesar? It is estimated that it will not exceed 50%. It is precisely for this reason that even if the Death Godhead has a 3-star strength, it has been treasured in the Global Beastmasters Association for so many years. No priest dares to buy it. Except Yi Zan. Because he is different. After experiencing the Winter Dungeon, Yi Zan's 4-dimensional attributes have reached an unimaginable level. Even the 20,000 level Golden Ancient Tree boss, if you must say, the 4-dimensional attributes are not as good as 30% of Yi Zan's. Blessed by such powerful mental attribute points and physical attribute points. Want to forcibly absorb a death godhead? Is it difficult? It is true that danger may arise. However, in Yi Zan's view, that kind of danger is controllable. He has this confidence. Immediately, Yi Zan crushed the death godhead seed on the spot. The girls behind him, Audrey, Yelena, Sophie, and even Aaliyah, immediately frowned and felt a strong death threat.